Welcome to another welcome to another week for All Politics Are Local, America's number
Number
one
one.
political hip hop radio talk show. We are have a wonderful, full packed night tonight. I want to first start out by shouting out Newark's 24 Hours of Peace. We know we are huge supporters of Hakeem Green and Mayor Raz Baraka and Keisha Yuri and everyone who's putting together this 24 Hours of Peace hip hop concert hosted by Queen Latifah. Faith Evans is going to be there, and it's starting. It's actually should be going on right now. So
Starts right now.
huge shout out to 24 Hours of Peace and what they're doing. DJ Rhino is going to be there and will be telling us some of how it's going on later in the show. We have a full pack lineup tonight. We're starting off with Marcia Brown and a director of A Raisin in the Sun, which is coming to Symphony Hall. And we are always honored to have Marcia Brown on, and we're going to give her a full introduction after we give the full lineup. At 6:30, we're going to have Cinque Brath on, and he is going to tell us more about the documentary about the Black is Beautiful movement. At 7 o'clock, we're going to have NFL football great Tahir Whitehead on. He's from Newark. We love him in Newark, and he's doing some really positive stuff in the community with annual back to school book bag giveaway. And they're also getting ready to do the first annual 5K walk run on September 10th. So we're going to talk to NFL great Tahir Whitehead later in this show. And we're also going to talk, and then of course we have DJ Rhino at 7:30, and he's going to be reporting and shouting us out from 24 Hours of Peace. And finally, at 8 o'clock, we have the Honorable Congressman Donald Payne giving the Payne Report, as he does the very first Friday of every month. So it's a packed show. It's a full show. We've got hip hop. We've got politics. We've got the arts. We've got arts legend Marcia Brown in the house. And, you know, she is, many people know her as the as vice chancellor of Rutgers Newark, and she has a legendary administrator. If you are Black in the city of Newark and you've been involved in higher education, if she has not directly touched your path, she has indirectly touched your path, and she's been doing activist stuff for years. And I did not realize that there's another incredible side to Marcia Brown, and that she is an artist, a director. Zaid, do you want to give us more?
She's loaded.
Fully
loaded.
Started talking about.
Hold on, Zaid. Before you go on, I mean, obviously, you know, when you talk about Marcia having touched everybody, you're right. I mean, so everybody who comes on All Politics Are Local is indirectly being touched by Marcia Brown.
That's right.
All Politics Are Local stands as you see it because of Marcia Brown. When she was, you know, in charge over at Rutgers University, she stood up for your brothers. Not only am I an alumni of that school, I mean, but Marcia, you know, was doing her Black Power work, always in the background. And so we thank her, we honor her, we love her. And if you guys appreciate All Politics Are Local for all these years and what we continue to do in the city, well, part of that applause, y'all gotta share that with Marcia Brown. Thank you so much, Marcia.
Absolutely, right? Like, and as you know, many people know I'm a debate coach. Marcia Brown has been fully supporting debate in the city of Newark for years, like close to 30 years, right? Probably more than that. And so many people she has touched with the things that she has done for the city of Newark. So we were always grateful. And it's an honor. Marcia, I want to say it is an honor. And I mean that very sincerely. It's an honor to have you here because you are a legend of Newark. You are a legend in Newark.
Oh, you guys, I hate that. I hate those kind of introductions. Zaid knows that. But the issue is, if there has been much given to somebody, then much is expected. So I follow a lot of people, who've been really struggling in this city. I'm just proud to be on that journey with so many of them, including you guys, especially Zaid and I, who really started off with urban poets and trying to tell a story of our people's struggle through poetry. And we took over the Newark Public Library for many, many years, trying to tell that story. So, I'm just thankful to still be around, to see a mayor who is trying to bring a city to life again. I certainly support the peace movement that's going on in the city now. We have so much to look forward to as a people, and we need the best leaders, the best vision, right, and the best layers of commitment that um, we can develop to help our people to go to the next level. I'm excited that you guys have Tahir on, and also Donald Payne, my friend. So I'm just thankful that you all are in the mix, and that you bring the news and the politics to the local and to the global. So just thank you for having me and my comrade on, Kenyon Mankur. Whitaker, who is the Walter in the play Raisin in the Sun. That's the role that, of course, Sidney Poitier originated on Broadway.
Right.
And he is the grandson of the great jazz trombonist. I know you
I heard
know.
that cool. I was wondering.
Yeah.
Right. Your granddaddy could swing, young man.
Absolutely.
That's right.
So we're very excited about having him, and he grew up in Newark. He's a native son, and he is teaching our children math at the St. Benedict's, and he's a coach, and he's also in the law school. So he's one of these young people who are doing it all. He's a entertainer, aspiring singer. So we're just so happy to have these young people as part of the production.
You got
thank you so much for
talking about it.
And as you know, we've always tried to make everything that we do sort of local. So, and we're doing community theater. So this is not equity. This is not, people are not being paid. They're volunteering their time. And we chose a play that we thought would have meaning. One of the things that, one of our bylines for this production is the younger family is a Newark family. The Newark family is a younger family. So as this family is struggling with, issues of race and sexism, and classism, and identity at a time, remember, when no one was talking about Black is beautiful, and certainly women weren't talking about holding up their half of the world. I mean, this is 1959. Lorraine Hansberry is just brilliant as a visionary in terms of putting those issues, those themes in a play, and having a family grapple with that, in the context of integration and segregation, really apartheid. And this family, this poor family, has to struggle not only internally with their own tensions that happens all the time, when we're just a real family, just natural, as you say, and to also bring in the sort of the global context, because she also has the African suitor, if you recall, as a guy from Nigeria, and he comes, bringing in the whole issues of identity. Asking Benita, why you wear your hair like that? This is 1959.
1959. Yes, that's a guy. Yes.
Just brilliant. Just brilliant.
How do you prepare the younger people? Because as you said, it was 1959, and it has been the play with Sidney Poitier up until the one where Puff did it. Do you allow the young people to watch the other plays, or do you just prepare them by having them read the play?
No, good question. Both. I want them to watch it, but we also have conversations on set at the rehearsals about the context of the play. What does it mean? And then with me being from the older generation, I take every opportunity I can, and Kenya can speak on this, to really talk to them about that journey, from 1959 to now. And what does it mean that we're doing this play with those issues now in 2022, and how they come at it? They're very attentive, very interested in learning. I love these young people, but Kenyon can speak about that on his own.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did a lot of watching the movie at first, if I am admitting it. But, as we progressed through, Marcia really did, I would say, an exemplary job of really breaking down the play to the point where I could really start diving into the intricacies of Walter, because like she said, Walter is a son of Newark. He's a son of everything that ails us as a community: poverty, you know, he just wants the best for his family, and he just wants to do everything he can to really be the man of the house, and you know, just be a stable figure. And I think it's a story that a lot of people inside of Newark, everybody I tell about the place says they read it in middle school, and they're super excited about it because they know it has so much meaning. And everybody I talk to is from Newark. This happenstance because I'm from there. But yeah, I think it's really going to come together in a way that's going to surprise a lot of people. And the process with Marcia has been it's been a blessing, honestly. Like I feel like I've definitely come into my own artistically, working with her.
Is there a favorite production? Did you identify with any of the actors in the previous productions, or you just did your own thing?
I mean, I did Sidney Poitier for his seriousness, but also Danny Glover for his humor that he brought to it. He made it feel like kind of like that uncle that everybody has. It's just the way I've kind of taken it. But it's just working, continuing to work on the character, and I feel like it's gonna be different once opening night actually comes. That is gonna actually come to life for me. So I'm still working on that question. Ask me again after the play.
Will do. Okay.
Just for everybody's benefit, very quickly, the play is going to be on September 17th at 7 o'clock at Symphony Hall. Is that correct?
Yes, we're actually having 2 nights. The 18th
2 nights.
is
What's the second night?
The second night is the 18th, which we're reserving for seniors and students. We've also reached out to to veterans, returning reentries, women in transitional programs. We're trying to get non-traditional audiences there. We're only charging them $5. And even though we're trying to raise money for student college scholarships, which is, the underlying purpose, but we want more of our people who don't normally get a chance to see what might mirror their own struggles on stage. And so we reached out to housing authorities, to transitional programs, Tia Ryans with her reentry program, New Jersey STEP, the veterans, Shauna Baraka, Covenant House, My Sister's Lighthouse. We reached out to all of those. We want them to come, and really see themselves and hopefully feel like, their story is being told up there too.
Now, for everyone's benefit, I'm going to put the links, because they're 2 separate links from what I'm saying, one for the 17th and one for the 18th.
Right.
I'm going to put them in our chat, and then our tech person can put them up on our screen. Marcia, you already got a shout out from the great Kalina Berriman, right?
Yes, she did.
The young fellow educators.
Yes, she did.
That's right. So everybody's definitely, people are tuning in. You definitely have an audience. Several things need to be said too. Also, I want folks to appreciate the gravity and the historical significance of this particular work. 1959 was a watershed year. It was on the global front that foreshadow what was getting ready to happen in the 1960s. Right, you had the emergence of a number of important African countries coming into independence. Right, the non-aligned movement is beginning to gel to the degree that those countries, there was enough independent countries to begin to make that happen. And there were these, and I'm going to use the contemporary language, conversations about segregation. Right. And let's understand where this was set. This was set in Chicago. This wasn't set in Jackson, Mississippi. This was set in Chicago, right? Exactly. One of the crown cities of the North, right? A Democratic Party bastion, right? It was one of the most segregated cities in this country to this day.
Let's not forget that this is where King went.
That's absolutely.
And where he
young Fred Hampton helped him before he even became a Panther. Yeah, Martin Luther King went to Chicago and said he's seen more hate in Chicago than he saw in any other city in the country.
That's right. He almost got taken out there.
Busted upside the head. Absolutely. Yeah, they throw garbage at him and everything. right?
Absolutely.
So that was the Chicago that we're talking. That's the America that we were talking about,
Exactly.
right? And the other thing too, and Marcia, I know you with this 1,000%. This is a black working class story,
Yes.
right? These are working class folks faced with this pivotal moment in their lives, but representing a pivotal moment in our people's lives,
Right.
in our people's
Absolutely.
movement, in our
Yes.
people's history. And our people felt it like that too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And it pushed Lorraine Hansberry, this brave young sister from New York, onto the world stage because folks had to deal with, folks who didn't want to deal with it in an arts land, which is supposed to be a liberal territory. They too had to like scratch their head. I guess we do have to talk about this thing called race sometimes.
Exactly.
And yes,
exactly
they did. Right.
And they did. I mean, she no white producer wanted to produce this play because they didn't feel that, Black life was theater worthy. But, here's a play that went on to win the first New York Drama Circle Award, first Black woman to do that. And, she had so much. I mean, one of the things I want you guys to know is that, we reached out to Audible and said, look, the themes that are in this play are also the things that we're struggling with respect to equity and democracy in the city of Newark. So we would like to create just like Raz created the Baraka book, we would like to create the Raisin in the Sun audio book that can be used in the Newark Public Schools to really explore these issues in a way that uses drama and theater to capture the minds of our young people. And they have agreed. Roger Leone has agreed. So we're really excited about the possibility of extending the conversation and the dialogue that hopefully Raisin will engender to the school system. And for stop worrying about these tests throwing on these children, and let's let them start talking about their lives, and in that they will develop the kind of skill sets, the strategies, and the commitment to want to learn because it's about them.
So Marcia, one of the things I'm always curious about, especially doing a classic play such as this, is what is because even though there are many similarities and there are problems that we face today that are similar to the 1950s, it's not the 1950s, right? Like there's a lot of things that have happened. There are a lot of things that there's a lot of different things that are in the air. The way in which we look at international relations, the relationship with Africa, although there are similarities, have you noticed that there was a change in the way that you're directing it, like the way that you're looking at it, so that there's something new that is that it's uniquely relevant to today? Like, how did that affect or change the way that you approached directing a classic play, but making it, as you would say, relatable to kids and adults who are in their teens and 20s now?
Right. Absolutely. That's a great question. Because in 1979, when we did it for Nyeri Education Institute, and we had just got finished having an audience with President Nyeri, who had come to visit the school that was named after him. We were dealing with parents who were in that struggle, who had put their kids in a freedom school.
Right.
And so the whole idea of having Raisin in the Sun was to say that those parents wanted to use the weapon of struggle that was inherent in that play to grow the school's to grow the sense of the school's commitment to those issues. So, but we didn't get as deep into them as I am now. So for me, when 1979, when I did it, and then when we did it again in 1984, when my daughter was in Nyeri, was in St. Rocco's. And then now, my emphasis, and I'm older, right? So when my daughter was in St. Rocco's, she was only 12 years old. Now it's 2022, she's 52 years old. I'm not even going to tell you how old I am. I'm just 60. I had her when I was 8. But this
You
time,
still look good, Marcia.
but now my sense of it is I feel this strong commitment to really show the journey that we've made. So like you said, Jonathan, there are similarities, but there are distinctions, or rather I should say there are still things that we're struggling with, and we have to ask those questions. Why are we still struggling with those things? Those where we can show progress, we should show progress. So after every show next week, we're going to have a talk back.
Awesome.
So the actors will be on stage, and we'll have an opportunity to talk about these
community theater.
Yes.
Nice. So you mean after the play is over,
yes,
the audience will get a chance to directly engage. Is that going to be recorded as well? Like, is that going to be
yes,
documented?
everything is being recorded. We have a videographer and a photographer. So because that's going to be part of hopefully the audio book that students will be able to have. I mean, Roger's sending 200 students on Sunday to see this play, 200 high school students
Nice.
to see this play.
Man.
Isn't that amazing? So we're very excited about that. So I'm very interested in what questions, they will raise. I mean, first of all, the classism piece that you mentioned, Jonathan and Zaid, remember George, who wears the white shoes?
Yes.
Because he is the middle class, the
That's
rich
right.
Negro in the room.
Yes.
And Benita talks about assimilationism.
Mhm.
And then when her mother says, why don't you marry George Murchison, that rich, fine young man? And she begins to talk about it ain't about money.
Mhm.
I want somebody who's got some ideas, who has some commitment to our people. So it is so much, it's so richly textured, as a play.
Two of my favorite monologues come from that play.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I love August Wilson, but I've never seen a play that's gone the level of depth that the Lorraine Hansberry did.
And he wouldn't have gone there if she hadn't gone there first.
That's true. That's very true. But she saw a whole lot, and for it was time, it was its time, because truth be told, it should have never been able to do as well as it did. I'm sure having Sidney Poitier on it, and Claudia Rains and Diana Sands, help, because they were already established actors. But one of the things that we're doing, because part of what, when they were on Broadway, a lot of people don't know this, but one of the tensions in that play was between Sidney and Claudia, who played the mother, because she felt that the play should be centered, the play should center around her because she was the mother, the matriarch. Sidney felt that the play should really revolve around the issues of manhood, and him he's the only man in the household, and he's got all these women, and, he struggles with this whole idea of not being able to be a man, in his opinion. What does it mean to be a man? And then he writes this book at the end of his life, The Measure of a Man. So one of the things that we're doing, I've tried to do both, to both give Mother and Walter reign to exist in that space. And one of the things that we're doing at the beginning of the play is to hear an excerpt of Sidney Poitier talking about how the press tries to limit his skill set to just being a Black man, and he talks about the measure of a man. So I'm really excited about that. We're just excited about how we're going to do this. Yeah, it's kind of different.
He was, for all these years, and for all of his grace, he was too big, too Black, and too beautiful for the white man.
That's true. That is true.
And we're still dealing with all of that stuff.
Which he started making his own movies when he realized that.
The other thing, too, in terms of contemporary
night, yeah, absolutely. Yes. He was like, hey, forget y'all.
Yeah. The other thing in terms of contemporary relevance, we are struggling with something called gentrification.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this, so we're struggling with the battle for what's left of our voting rights. Right. So yes, some things have changed in the progressive way, but we're in a retrograde period.
Yes.
And we need to be real clear about that, because we're gonna have to fight to keep the little that we have left in order to move forward.
And I'm thinking about something that Kabila used to say all the time. We need to organize, mobilize, and mobilize. And one of the things that's interesting that Hansberry did about this play, and we talked about it at rehearsal, is that there's no happy ending here. I mean, yeah, they moved to the white place, and keep in mind that the mother when her daughter-in-law asked her, why are we moving to a place where there ain't no black people? The mother said, because where there are black people, it's all run down and they charge you more than I would be paying if I moved to the white neighborhood. And so even at the end of this play, when they decide, when Walter's manhood becomes, when he takes charge of it as a result of saying to the white man, we're not moving in there, we don't want your money. There's still the issue of, well, what is going to happen when they move into this neighborhood? That play, that
play hasn't been written yet.
Right, that hasn't been written yet. What happened when they moved there? And did Benita go to Africa and then stay there and run, do her thing there? It's just deliciously complicated.
Absolutely. In plain language, plain working class language,
Yeah, I want to bring in Rob Hilton just because I know that there's some stuff question that you definitely wanted to ask, especially with the idea of community theater and the goal. Like Marcia, that's an amazing goal in Newark to create community of actors. Rob, can you talk to our question about that?
You're muted, Rob.
You're muted, Rob.
Rob is a master teacher, by the way, too, on top of being a fabulous poet, Marcia.
Yeah, I've always wondered what happened to community theater in Newark. I've always wanted to do something. And just to know that, I've always wanted to do something. I did a Raisin in the Sun, and I'm not really bragging, but I did at Weequahic High School, believe it or not,
I believe it. Yeah.
I did the production with high school students, and it was amazing. Not many people came out. I invited the community. Just the school administrators and a few students came out, but it was really good. Those kids took away a lot.
I bet they did. Yeah.
Like you said, it embodies so much, so many of the topics that are still relevant.
Yeah.
And the issues that are still relevant.
Yeah.
With that. And I'm glad to see you doing community theater, and we need to do more. And I'm willing to be a part of it, knowing who you are now, because I wasn't aware of the magnitude of what you were trying to do, and I didn't have the time because I was supposed to audition for this play. I don't know if you remember.
You sure did, Rob. That's right. You sure were.
yeah, that's the Rob.
Now I see. Okay.
Yeah, and I didn't want a major role, but I wanted a minor character. But all the characters are so important in the play.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Bobo.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how short their parts are. The characters are so important.
Yes.
To all of us.
Yes.
America in general.
Absolutely.
And going forward, community theater. If you need my help, let me know. I'm glad you're doing this, and I hope that some of my students can also come to the play as well.
How long ago was it, Rob, when you did it with the students?
I did it with Bird Hollis when he was principal. It wasn't too long ago.
Oh, that wasn't long ago. Yeah, that was a minute ago. Okay.
Yeah.
I wish we would have lifted that up.
About 4 years ago, maybe. Yeah. And you should have seen me running around you didn't need many props. You really didn't. It's just
you don't. That's another beautiful aspect about the play from a tech standpoint. You don't need a whole lot.
Right.
I went to my old couch from home. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, I know we're running out of time for this segment, but what I wanted to do, and part of I love, Marcia, I love what you are doing, right? Like, I love what you're doing with community theater, getting people into Symphony Hall, creating a community of actors and artists. I think that is so important. I definitely wanted to connect you with Rob Hilton because he's one of the most talented poets I've ever met, right? Like, he's done some programs at Science. I've heard about him for years when he was at Weequahic, and I've heard about a lot of the stuff he's done. When I met him, when I saw his actual poetry, and you were talking about Raisin in the Sun, I was like, I have to connect the two of you because I think that's what art is, right? Like, I think that's what community is, and I love and respect what you were doing. We're running out of time for this segment, so I'm going to end with you, Marcia.
Right. Thank you, Kenya, for coming on with me. He's a remarkable young man. I'm sorry, Rob, we didn't connect, but here's what I want you guys to think about. So I think post this production, we need a place where we can house a regular theater. So we created the Newark Repertory Theater Company, but we haven't been able to find a place to be housed. I had thought it was going to be at Rutgers, but it's not going to be at Rutgers. But maybe Symphony Hall might be the place where we actually house a regular theater company where our students not only can learn on the stage, but also backstage.
Right.
You know, all of the work, we've got students who are working with us backstage. And so they're learning what it means to be a backstage crew, you know, to deal with props, to understand the lighting, the sound, you know, and all of the things that go into making a production. It's extraordinary. So we are looking for an opportunity, and a lot of the young people who are with me now are interested in being in theater. You know, they want to pursue a profession. But we need, just like other communities, I mean, Orange has a theater company, Montclair has a theater company, Long Branch has a theater company, but the largest city in the state of New Jersey,
with the longest history too.
with the longest history, has no theater company. Now, what kind of sense does that make?
We got to fix that.
Right.
You know,
That's what I gotta say about it. Thank you, Don.
We're gonna have to sit down when it's over too. We're gonna
but we need to ask, but we need to also make sure that you and Kenya, if he's still on, answer that question.
Yep, I'm here.
But let me ask Marcia a question first. Marcia, let me ask you this. Nairi, was that the school in New Brunswick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
One of our model independent schools.
Yeah. My nephew graduated from Nairi.
Yeah. Charles Gray was the principal, and you know, we my daughter went there for until we moved to Newark, and it was just an extraordinary experience. And let me tell you, 99% of those kids who were in Nairi went to college, and all of them had scholarships. All of them, every single last one of them.
What was awesome is how educated their teachers were.
Oh man,
all them brothers were super educated.
It was like, you know, it was like they issued the call. You know how they do. They issued the call, and all these teachers came running. You know, to be in the Freedom School was amazing.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was. I enjoyed it.
And Ed, I just have to throw in, Ed, you're doing it again. I mean,
I know.
Donna was here, she left, and now, like right after we got our next guest on, and the background and stuff.
I'm sorry, guys. You know, it's always good to be with you. Kenya, you want to say goodbye?
Really, and also for both of you,
thank you all so much for having me on.
Individual or group.
Say it. I don't think they heard you. Go ahead. Say it again.
It's funny because I want to call you Vice Chancellor Brown, but
I'm just Marcia now.
But so who is your favorite hip hop artist, individual or group? Kenya, who is your favorite hip hop artist, individual or group?
Who's my favorite hip hop?
Well, I'm gonna get some flack for this, but Kanye West.
Oh wow!
Well, you're not gonna get any flack for that. You're not gonna get any.
You know, it's a polarizing. It's a polarizing answer.
I mean, you got to it's kind of like,
but he ain't by himself.
Right, and it's like when Sammy Davis Jr. When he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna vote for Nixon," and then he had a concert and people started to boo him, and he was like, "You're not gonna tell me I can't sing and dance." I mean,
absolutely.
Like, and
absolutely.
They had to give it to him. They're like, all right.
Kanye fan. Most definitely.
So Marcia, how about you?
Hip hop. You know what? I don't even know about favorite, but you know, I like Tupac. I like the guy Jay-Z. You know, and then my grandson introduced me. He said, "Grandma, you need to know some undercover hip hop. You know, not talking about all that, you know, mainstream." He said, "There's some undercover people you need to know about." So I don't know their names, but you know, I like all of it. But I admit, you know, I mean, look, I'm old, but I admit that I don't always understand what they're saying. And I do agree with Adrian Council, who's saying, look, we do need a positive music campaign, and he's been trying to push that.
Absolutely.
We need a pop, because if you think about the Motown sound and all that, you know, I mean, look at what it did for us, for our people. I love that Motown, you know, sound, and they, all the subjects that they dealt with, still the same subjects, but you know, they were able to do it in a way, I think, that ennobled us. And maybe I'm just old fashioned, but you know, I like the idea of people feeling ennobled and feeling like they are somebody, they're special.
And thank you so much, Marcia. And we're gonna have to have you back.
Okay.
We want
you guys. I love you, of course.
I love you too.
Thank you all so much.
You too, right? Like, and we want to have you back after this as well. We can have you back again before and after, but we definitely want to have you back after as well to talk about how it went.
Yeah.
and what's going on going forward.
Next,
So,
the next steps, absolutely. 'Cause
yep.
we gotta
So
figure
thank
this
Yeah.
you.
out.
So thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you, Rob. So nice to
I'll-
meet you. Look, you
No, I'll
brothers.
be there. I will be there. Yes.
Oh, great. Thank
And
you. Thank you so
thank
much.
you. No, thank you. And Rob, stay on because we have Cinque Brath coming up, and this kind of segues perfectly into the next segment because when Marcia was ending and saying, "Hey," when we're talking about having a positive music campaign and talking about like really it's a matter of looking at the culture and what the culture can offer to people. Cinque Brath, you were going to be talking about, I believe, and Zaid will give a better introduction, but a documentary on the Black is Beautiful movement.
Well, let me slow that down a little bit. I want to pull some things together that are a part of that, right? The young man that was just on with Marcia was the grandson of the great Gratian Moncour. Gratian Moncour was a jazz legend right here from who just passed away within the last year, right? And the organization that Cinque's father had, it's called A-Jazz, was originally about the class struggle within jazz, right? To make sure that jazz stayed or had its place, stay in the community, right, from which it came, right? At a time when jazz was trying to be controlled and kept in a very downtown white way, right? A-Jazz, Alombe and his comrades and his brother were trying to create spaces for jazz to keep its community-based roots, right? So that's one of the dimensions of the documentary. But true, let me just back up. Cinque is I mentioned Alombe. Many folks know who Alombe Brath is. Many folks should know who Numza Brath, Alombe's Brath's wife, and Cinque's mother is, right? Because they're very hugely important figures to the Harlem world and to the Pan-African world. And what they did at that time is what sealed and set off their legend, right? A-Jazz, right? The pioneering the Black is Beautiful movement. Is a film done by Louise Dente, right? A sister who I worked with. In fact, I started acting with Sister Louise many years ago when I was teaching for her performance ensemble. She had a youth ensemble called the Joy Performing Workshop. Teaching for her, I wound up becoming one of her actors. That's when my acting journey began there. But in 1962, 60 years ago, one of the things that A-Jazz did was start a number of what was called Naturally Yours beauty pageants, where these incredible Black women in the movement, and this was no fly-by-night, pretty faces, but Black women involved in the movement wearing African garb, natural hair, daring to assert the power of a liberated African personality, right? At a time when we were out of our African minds, right? Coming out of the 1959, right? Same year that Lorraine Hansberry drops Raisin in the Sun, the 1959 All People's Conference in Harlem, organized by the great Garth that is unsung by the name of Carlos Cooks. That's the background from which this springs. So the film captures that. Louise isn't a filmmaker, but recognizing the value and the importance of the legacy, she just started putting stuff together and produced a gem that's already gotten some critical acclaim already. So Cinque, let's back up. I think I've dropped enough background for you to go.
Zaidi, you really do know the story. You really are erudite in the story. Yes. Because that was very accurate, how you described everything. Yeah. So I just want to put that.
Let's do this. Let's talk about the film. Let's talk about your father and his comrades, your uncle, right? Your mother, right? That whole mix, and it's important to appreciate you. He's one of the youngest of the Brath kids. He was a baby,
I'm in the middle technically. So there are three older than me, and there are three younger than me. Right, so actually, what some people don't know, there's 7 of us. Between my father and mother, there are 6 boys, but I also have a sister. My sister Nzinga, is before my parents were married. My father had a daughter. She's the oldest. And then I have 2 elder brothers and then 3 younger brothers. So I'm right there. I'm right there in the middle. But I guess the reason why I end up being the president of the Alambe Brath Foundation is basically because I took a liking to an interest very early on in what both of my parents were doing, and just following them from a very young age, interested in the struggle and solutions and why they were spending so much time outside of the home in the Black community or with other people's kids or whatever the case may be. I said it must be important, so let me find out what it is that they're doing. But since we're talking about AJAZ, AJAZ was founded in 1956. And basically, when AJAZ started out, well, you basically said it was a class struggle in jazz. They were not initially African Jazz Art Society and Studio. They were Jazz Art Society and Studio. Basically, it wasn't until like 1959 that they started using the AJAZ, African Jazz Art Society and Studio. And that really came because, Carlos, there was a convention to abrogate the term Negro in 1959. That after that, they sort of blew my father's mind, blew my uncle's mind, and they decided, they wanted to put instead of just Jazz Art Society, they really needed to put, African inside of there because, again, the convention to abrogate the term Negro in 1959. So they had then actually changed it to African Jazz Art Society. And they were using studio, although they did not have a studio at that time. They did not move from the Bronx to Harlem until around 60, 61. And then they really had a studio. And they needed a studio at that time because there was a lot of photography that's documented in this era and what was going on that my uncle, Kwame Brathwaite, had taken. And he needed to get his film developed. And so they needed a space for it. And they ended up paying rent to the Apollo Theater, moved right next door. The same landlord as the Apollo, and right next door to the Apollo is where AJAZ built their offices at. And that's where, basically the natural shows started in Harlem, not in the Bronx. So my father came up with the idea of the Grandassa models actually in 1961. And 1961 is really when the Grandassa models were conceived, but they didn't debut until the beginning of 1962, January 28th. So at that time, my father was already doing a lot of propaganda towards the Black is Beautiful movement without the Grandassa models. In fact, anybody who sees this, I got a book right here. It's called Ali by Jonathan Egg, Ali of Life. It's a award-winning book about Ali that came out 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago. In here, Jonathan Egg talks about the battle between Cassius Clay and Alambe Brath. My father was not Alambe yet. He was still known as Cecil, and Cassius Clay was not yet Ali. But because Ali, every time Ali was not really conscious at that time. And every time before Ali would fight somebody, he would use the word black in a pejorative sort of way. Black ugly, black stupid, this or that. My father did not like him doing that against other black boxers, using the word black as a pejorative term. So the Chicago Defender, which has the largest circulation for black readers at that time, my father wrote Ali a letter in it about the Black is Beautiful movement, what they were doing, and how Ali needed to cut out with that behavior and stop any sort of descriptions of African physiognomy as something negative, so that began their relationship. As we all know, Ali continued to do some of that still after, but my father dressed him down in an open letter and poem. So they had a difference. They eventually made up with Ali, flying my father out to his fight in Zaire at that time, and my uncle. Some great pictures, photographs by my uncle are also in this book. But the photo in there, my father's like, this is coming from the director, of A-Jazz, and stop doing that. We putting in a lot of work changing the hearts and minds of African people about Black not being something derogatory, and it's not something we're going to be ridiculing. Because what you must understand is that when my father first had the first the African Jazz Art Society, when they first launched this, they had great guys like my uncle Kwame, Robert Gums, Chris Asmendese Hall, you know what I mean, Frank Adu, you know, a lot of people who were coming out, they didn't come out, they came out to initially laugh, because there's like, you're going to put some Black woman without a process in their hair and basically no makeup on stage. Like, I'll pay to come just to laugh. And, you know, and a lot of them got a rude awakening, you know, and they saw, you know, take Eldridge Cleaver. When Eldridge Cleaver was in prison, he had wrote from his first stick, you know, he had got wind through the prison system and started seeing these photos of the Grandassa models. And he wrote a letter to my father, director of A-Jazz, about how when he got out, he, you know, that he was coming to New York, and he talked about how he never seen anything like these women, and he wanted to see who these Grandassa models are. So basically what Louise Dente, she may not capture those specific things. She talks about them in her film.
By the way, this is a hip-hop based talk show, and you just did two mic droppers.
Okay.
Right, the story on Muhammad Ali and Eldridge Cleaver. Those are two very seldom, little known stories that you just dropped that are important. And it brings us back to the centrality of Harlem to Black consciousness, to Pan-Africanism, and being our culture capital, and how your dad was right in the mix to all of that. Keep going.
Yeah, this book here is called the Harlem Cultural Political Movements, 1960 to 1970. From Malcolm X to Black.
You got to get that back in print too.
Yeah, they don't. I mean, because right now it costs $1,300 to get this book. So
Cinque, I'm sorry, turn the book around straight, like put it like in front of you so everybody can see. Yeah,
like this.
There you go. Yes, sir. Thank you.
This is the front, and this is the back. It has over 150 photos.
We were supposed to have Mr. Gums on a few weeks ago, but he had some last minute tech issues and he couldn't get on, right?
Yeah.
And that's when we were getting ready for the showing at Sister's Place.
Well, you know, also speaking of those photos, I mentioned that book, which was the first book, you know, well, technically is the first book about A-Jazz. The first book by, you know, dealing with what A-Jazz was doing was the book that caused Malcolm X to meet my father. It was called Color Us Colored. African Jazz Art Society and Studio put that out that my father created. And basically it was a satire and colored on the political leadership of the day at that time. And basically, let me just show you this, Zaid. That book turned into something that just came out this last year, an academic book by the University.
Right, I just saw that. Yes.
The artistic activism of Elambe Brath, you know, exploring my father, A-Jazz, etc., from 1956 to right before 1975, before my father founded the first international activist organization called the Patrice Lumumba Coalition.
Yes,
in Harlem. Yeah. So this book is a precursor to that, and it's by the lead author is a guy named Thomas Aiello, and it's by the university. It's an academic book, so history majors in all places, Mississippi and the Deep South, when they take history, they have to buy this book and learn of this. You know, this is the first book that they did. They were looking to do something also with Carlos Cooks, and you know what they call a black left of that era, which were not really technically part of the civil rights movement. A lot of people were dumped into the civil rights bag, but that university is starting like that. That's not really what took place. We do that with African history, scholarship. We put everybody in civil rights bag, and that's not really what that was. So they're exploring that. They're exploring my father's early art, when he was a journalist for the Citizen Call, which was a black newspaper right in Harlem, founded by one of the Tuskegee Airmen. His, you know, Zaid, you mentioned about the class struggle in jazz and keeping jazz as an African art form, but a lot of the cartoons and the satire where my father was poking fun at that in here, but they were part of Color Us Colored, but they also include from when he was a columnist for the New York Citizen Call. He had 2 cartoons he used to do, Congressman Carter and Beatnik Jackson. And they used to run on the front page of the paper at times. The first columnist, he started off with the cartoonist. And the first one, he used to run these political cartoons on the front page of the paper. So the Citizen Call and the incident.
Cinque on the front page of what paper? Of
the it was called the Citizen Call was the newspaper.
Citizen Call, and he did a cartoon called Congressman Carter.
Yep, Congressman Carter and Beatnik Jackson. So here's Congressman Carter. This is some of them. Congressman Carter was kind of loosely based on Adam Clayton Powell.
Okay.
That's Congressman Carter. These are just some of the strips in here from it. And Beatnik Jackson was a different sort of
was Beatnik loosely based on anybody?
But they went back and collected all of these.
Was Beatnik loosely based on anybody?
No. Beatnik Jackson was more of a composite character.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because your dad was a graphic artist before graphic artist was born.
And that's what initially, if you saw, all right, so there's a show called Like It Is. I remember one time
there's this show
illustrating Malcolm and that whole scene in the courtroom. So that's my father who did all the animation and the drawing for that. And that was Gil, that was penciled by Elambe Brath.
He didn't just do graphics for Gil.
Oh yeah, no,
he
definitely
was his international
not.
affairs advisor.
Yes,
he did all he built his politics on Africa.
Yes, exactly. He was an international consultant. So when you see a Robert Mugabe on from Zimbabwe, when you see our brother from Grenada, Maurice Bishop, or any of these people on, that was my father bringing them to the show, getting a message out to the New York metropolitan area. So people could be in the know about what was happening, because part of the whole thing my father was trying to do when he founded the Patrice Lumumba Coalition was to wake up the African consciousness to what was happening on the continent. One of the things he did, we had a black borough president, his name was Percy Sutton.
Yes.
Before he convinced Percy Sutton that he needed to buy the Apollo Theater, to buy the black radio stations, LIB and BAI. Bernard White, former general manager at WBAI, tells the story in the Lambe Brath essay book of how that happened. He told Percy he needed him to rename the corner of our political mainstay in Harlem, which is the Harlem State Office Building. And on four of those corners, if you come now, it says African Square.
Right.
But if you go back into the 70s, there's a picture with my father and Percy Sutton on the ladder. My father convinced him to rename it. It was called African Liberation Square. After my father got sick and hospitalized, they rechanged the name from African Liberation Square to African Square. So now people don't really understand. It comes off kind of like a commodities thing for African Square, where you just people don't really know what that was about. But if you go and look at the street signs, right where actually that corner where they renamed over there, it has been co-named after him. It says Elambe Brath Way. Then across the street is Dr. Ben, right? Well, all of those corners of those four streets, that's why it's a square. All of them say African Square, but it used to be African Liberation Square. And so my father told Percy Sutton, this one has to be done because people have to know about what's happening on the continent. My father had just come back from receiving the Chivalry Award from Sekou Touré of Guinea. So it's like the highest honor that a non-citizen of Guinea can get. When he came back, he was very charged up about some of the things that were happening, and that's when he told Percy, we gotta rename this African Liberation Square, because a lot of the countries at that time who now are quote unquote independent or not under colonial yoke were not, and we had to couldn't just rely on the shows like It Is or his radio show African Kaleidoscope. We needed to see it in the streets where people are walking and like, what's that about? Why is that African Liberation Square? Right. Africa's not liberated. No, make people start asking questions and thinking about that.
And that territory was where the great national street speakers held
Yes,
court
indeed.
on a regular basis, lifting up all of that work. That's right. Yes,
Exactly.
So let me bring it back to the film because we're moving really quickly with the time. Right? You're having a showing on this Saturday. Tell us about
the showing is going to be. It's Saturday. It's going to be on 125th Street at the underpass. So that's right at Park Avenue, right where the Metro North train is. There's an underpass underneath there, and it's an area for an outdoor screening. So people will have headphones on, and when they come in, they register. That's how they will see the film, with the headphones. They will have the headphones on because it's going to be outside. There's a lot of stuff going on. You wouldn't be able to hear it if you just sit out there. You come, you register, you'll see the film. It's called AJAZ, Pioneers of the Black is Beautiful movement. It's going to talk about not just my father. It's going to talk about the men of AJAZ. It's going to talk about Chris S. Mendes Hall, Robert Gums, Kwame Brathwaite, Frank Adu, who was the director of the AJAZ Repertory Theater. You know, so it's gonna talk about them. It's gonna talk about these women called the Grandassa models. We're gonna hear from the legendary Bob Law in the film. We hear from our nationally syndicated now voice Ann Tripp, a former, she does BLS.
Grandassa model. That's right.
Yeah, so she's a former Grandassa model. They speak about their experience wearing their hair natural and, what they went through. We hear from Ernest Baxter. Ernest Baxter was a member of AJAZ and had a lot of, personal moments where he worked with the Grandassa models. And as I said, you're going to hear from a number of them. You'll hear stories that you might not have heard before. So that's all going to be happening Saturday from 7:30 to 9:30 at 100. It's the first free showing. The film has won 6 Best Documentary awards, including the Cannes International Film Festival. It won the Best Documentary there.
That's a big deal.
And won Moscow.
You really buried the lead with that, right? you waited to the very end to say that you won the Cannes Film Festival.
Jonathan, the filmmaker, she says, she don't want it to ride on one laurel. So
no, man, come on, man. Wait, time out. Let's stop.
She's not a filmmaker. She's,
It won Cannes.
Yeah.
And
I've been trying to get her behind on for a minute too.
It won Cannes.
So one at Cannes, and you just talking about it like it's a great community film.
It's a community-based film.
Awesome community film.
Just like we were just talking about community-based theater, this is
Right.
a community-based documentary film.
Right,
While
and it's a community-based documentary film that got a lot of international attention.
Yeah. It's got legs in the community on its own, though.
Yeah.
Right, and that's.
I respect it, but that's just slipping it at the end.
I know, but no, Jonathan, I was like you. I would always lead with that, and they told me. People tell me no, because then what about the other films?
The stories are great. The stories are great.
The stories are great.
California.
But Cinque, when you say Saturday,
I just put it all in there together now.
When you say Saturday, you're talking about September 3rd or September 10th?
Saturday, September 3rd.
And
100, like anybody who come off the Metro North is right there. But you come into Harlem and Park Ave, the underpass is right there. And as I said, it's the first free showing. It's sponsored by the Lambe Brath Foundation, the National Black Theater, Uptown. Oh gosh, Uptown. I think I'm looking at a flyer right in front of me. Uptown Gallery. Sometimes I get their name wrong. I don't know why. I guess because it's Uptown and an organization called Turnout. So yeah, it's gonna be right there. Everybody will be able to see it for free, and it's gonna be out in the open. So a lot of times.
Is there a link you can put in the chat, or did you do it, Zay? Is there a link?
I'm gonna put the link for the foundation.
Nothing for the film.
Probably. I don't know if on my side, Zaid, am I able to? If I put it in?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. I think
we're getting ready to move on to the next segment, but we always ask this question: who is your favorite hip hop artist?
Before you do that, Jonathan, one other thing I wanted to lift up too, because I also put that
very quickly because we got a next segment.
Cinque's uncle Kwame Brathwaite, his book Black is Beautiful is an important document that goes with this. And it's on this, his photography is on display now at the New York Historical Society until January.
Yes.
I'll put that in the chat also. So
Wow, is that
Yeah,
a new subject?
this
And not
is
to
the
bring it
book
up
right here.
that's it. That's it.
This is the book right here. Yeah, it is the accompanying piece to the exhibit.
All right, so who's your favorite hip hop artist, individual or
I
group?
probably have to say, a different time. It could be KRS-One.
Woo.
I might have to go with KRS-One. I'm fickle. It depends on what day you catch me on or whatever. So I just
So
go with
today is
KRS-One is safe as a
Alright.
lyricist. You catch me on
fitting.
another day, I might say Rakim.
But it's fitting that it's KRS-One when you're talking about this movement. So it fits. It fits, man. It fits. All right. So we need to have you back on to talk more about this because it's never, we always need to follow up to see how it went and see what the next projects are and how we can see the film. Is it going to stream? So we need to have you back on, man.
No, Jonathan, you got to get on Zaid because he gonna bring it to Newark. Because
all right, we'll do that.
Brother Bilal is bringing it to bring it right nearby in Patterson. So
absolutely,
I'm working on a Plainfield connection too because I'm
yes,
and thank you can do dates, let us know. Sorry, John.
Absolutely, and thank you so much, man.
All right, brothers.
We'll definitely have you back on. I love what you do. I got to see that documentary.
All right, great.
Yeah, you'll love it. Y'all will love it.
Thank you all for having me.
No, thank you.
Right on. I'll be in touch.
Okay, Zay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So, thank you. We're getting ready to move on to our next segment, and I'm excited, right? Because first,
look at what we've done in just 1 hour.
You said what?
Yeah, we've done it in just 1 hour.
I know. I'm not going to give a too long introduction. But
we like a Midtown Direct on time. Keep it going.
A little bit. But we're still a little late, but still trying. So I got a call from Marquise Lewis yesterday, and Marquise is like, "Yo, we got a brother on who's doing some good in the community. He's been consistently doing some good in the community. Want to have him on. He is a local Newark hero, national hero." And someone whose career in the NFL I have followed, right? And very much respect, right? So very honored, very, very honored to have on and Marquise, thank you, brother, right? Because I love it when kids from Newark, people from Newark, just go and do great stuff, right?
Yeah.
And come
back.
That's right. I think when Tahir played, that was an Essex County thing because I think you played with Orange's hero Day Alfred. I think that was an Essex County thing. Jersey was doing the thing.
Oh no, West Side, we claim Newark, right? And I think, and I'm gonna say that maybe science too, right?
That's correct. Yep, science. Went to science first 3 years, but I played for West Side all 4 years in high school.
All right, so way to come back. I appreciate having you back, man, and I just want to say that I very much admire what you did and how you did it. Right, like to me, you represent Newark because you had grit and guts every single time. Like you weren't first out there, right? Like you weren't starting right away. You fought for it, right? You earned it. You fought for it. You fought harder for it. So much respect for you following your career. So thank you. Welcome, Marquise. Thanks for bringing him on. Very much appreciate it.
No problem. Thank y'all for having me. No, thank y'all for having me, man. And want to go back a little bit. I don't know about no hero and national hero, all this other stuff.
Oh, you so humble too, right? That's good.
Nah, it's the way I see it, I'm doing what I'm supposed to. Like you said, from Newark, born and raised, and I've always wanted to come back and give back to my community. So every step of the way, I've always kept that at the forefront of my mind. It's bigger than me, not just about me, in the sense of being successful.
You're going in and out right now, and it's just always with mobile. Sometimes you hit dead spots and in and out.
Yeah, he's driving, so he's gonna go
So
in and
while you're driving, while he's out, Marquise, let me know. Like there's some stuff that's going on, there's some stuff that's giving back. It is the beginning of the school year, right? Like, and we know that school kids need Marquise. Help me out here. What do school kids need?
supplies.
That's right, Marquise. You are on mute right now.
Yeah. I'm at 24 hours apiece.
Oh, so it's like
okay, nice.
Another big gift back with Queen Latifah and Faith
Yeah.
Evans back in town.
After this broadcast, I'm gonna run down the street.
Yeah. But Tahir have been doing this for the last 9 years since he's been in the NFL. Coming back, I'm glad that he tapped me as his brother. He trusts me and trusted me to run his operation here in Newark when he's out of town, and always putting on this.
Well, stop right there. Tell us about the operation.
Yes.
Tell folks about the operation.
Well, every holiday we put together something for the community, whether it's giving book bags out, whether it's giving out turkeys, whether it's feeding families for Thanksgiving, or giving out toys for Christmas, giving kids laptops, having literacy classes, financial literacy classes. They make sure that our kids not only know about financial literacy, but know how to open a bank account, how to manage their money, how to use their money properly, and how to invest. And we even had 2 children who started their own business, who was from the ages of 5 to 12, who started their own business, and they still to this day having a business going on and they selling things, all because of what Tahir started.
all right, good. So he's been doing. I know I've heard about the school giveaway. You've been doing that for quite some time. Can you tell how many children you have touched in the 9 years?
Well, I say thousands. Our first one, we got about 500, and then after that, like 3 years ago, just before COVID, we had 4,000 kids that we was able to touch, and now we're trying to get back to that number after COVID. We're trying to build that number back up. Hopefully this year we're looking to do a 500 to 1,000 kids, but we implemented something different. Tahir's a big, health kick guy, trying to make sure that our kids stay healthy. So he started now he have his foundation that he started. It's the Tahir Whitehead Foundation. First time that the foundation is up and running, and we're doing a 5K run and walk before the book bag giveaway, just so that Tahir can really be able to bless the kids in a mighty way. He's giving out laptops to the children who can't afford laptops, who need laptops. We've been giving out TVs and all types of things to the kids. He's in the waiting room trying to get back in now.
Okay, and so
when is it, Marquise?
It's this Saturday, next Saturday, September 10th.
Right.
8 o'clock is when they're going to start the run. 9 o'clock is when we're going to start the race. The walk. 10 o'clock is when we're going to start the book bag giveaway in front for the kids. We're going to have bouncy houses. We're going to have surprise guests coming. A lot of Tahir friends who he touched and he had built relationships with going to come out. And not only that, Tahir just bought Central Cougars, the team, 80 kids. He just bought all of them new uniforms for this new coming school year.
Beautiful. And where's everything going to be held at? Where's the I know you're doing the run, but where's the kickoff at?
The race is going to start right on Mika and Elizabeth Avenue. Brother Aziz, brother, why we started to think about, this is where the North Anti-Violence Coalition started.
Right.
So that's why we chose that spot, because we want that family to know that we didn't forget about them. So we're going to start there, and it's going to be 5 miles from there all the way back to the track where all the main activities is going to take place at 55 Letlow Street.
And then the
Now,
church center is named
Marquise,
after Tahir.
now, Marquise, you mentioned the Newark Anti-Violence Program, and what is that connection between the giveaway, the walk, and the anti-violence program? Can you break that down for us again?
Well,
In
where we starting
Colorado.
at on Mika and Elizabeth Avenue is where the North Anti-Violence Coalition started because of the murder of our sister Allen, who was just on the way getting her baby some milk and became a victim. So we wanted, the Anti-Violence Coalition also celebrate the anniversary this year. So we thought that it was just a great, and a smart idea to start the race right there and make it 5K from there. Tahir was open to it. The our race director was open to it, and after that we're gonna go back to the track, to the Tahir Whitehead Track Center, and we're gonna be giving away so many different things to the kids. Like I said, book bags. We're gonna give out laptops. We're gonna have a cookout. We're gonna have bouncy houses, and Tahir's gonna take pictures with the kids. We have some special guests who's gonna be there as well. Who's gonna pour into the kids and motivate them and let them know that we're here for them. Tahir never stopped caring about them. He always showed that he loved them, and we're still here.
All right, so
And Tahir's back in. How's your connection now, Tahir?
can you hear us?
Tahir?
No, it's just the picture, so it's not coming through.
All right. And Marquise, where did Tahir start out with, like, flag football and just?
Well, Tahir started out with the Central Ward Cougars. He started out with the Central Ward Cougars.
Okay.
From the Central Ward Cougars, Tahir went and he played for Westside High School. From Westside High School, he went to Temple.
Can y'all hear me?
From Temple,
We can hear you now.
he went to Detroit. He was drafted by Detroit in 2012. Go ahead, Ty.
He was asking, did you start by playing flag football, Tahir?
She wants to know your football.
I actually.
And Tahir, if you can hear us, if having your pictures on maybe cause it, just how do you tell them to do it, Jonathan? Just
oh yeah, sometimes if you just turn your camera off, we could actually hear you. So if you not turn your camera off, like just hit the
cam button
where it says stop cam. If you just stop the cam, sometimes it goes faster, and we can hear you. Yeah, especially in mobile, depending on where you are, and depending on the wire, the towers where you are.
Yeah, we're lucky to get up and get Marquise. He right there, 24 hours apiece.
Yeah. Tahir, can you hear us now? See, he's trying to go in and out.
Yeah. Hello.
Hey,
There you go. So here,
Okay. Yeah.
So we just learned that you started
out
out
here in these mountains. It's ridiculous.
That's okay. We learned that you going back right when you started with the Central Ward Cougars. You played flag football, and then the rest is history.
Yeah. So I actually I didn't get a chance to go in the flag. I went straight into the tackle. Flag wasn't an option, especially when I was younger. But my older brother, he played tackle, and he was like, "Look, you're gonna line it up and know how to tackle right away." So he's like, "You're going." We put on our equipment. We went in front of our building on 15th Ave and 17th Street, and we did nutcrackers. So he was all world, and we went out there, and I had to hit up with him. So that taught me the ropes quick.
So was that a Newark-based like football league? Like, what was the football league?
So it was the North Pop Warner Football League, and started out with the Central Ward Cougars. When I was growing up, though, they had like the smaller level. The little league was the Central Ward Cougars, and then the upper team was the Rams. So now the whole organization is the Cougars, which which is pretty cool. And Marquise does a great job over there. And just recently donated some uniforms, which to be able to do something like that, for me, is one of my proudest moments. Always wanted to do something like that. I was able to do Central High School for my old high school, Westside High School, Weekway High School. So I try to find a team, an organization, or a school every year to at least donate some uniforms to. Give the kids, go out there with that confidence, playing against some of these other schools.
So how would you talk about like those, like the Pop Warner years, right? Like the importance of like what is your experience on the importance of Pop Warner and the importance of like people like Marquise, who's been out there for years just doing this kind of work? Like how did that affect your life?
It's extreme. It's pivotal. It's important, because that gives you the foundation. That's ultimately where you learn. You start learning the game and understanding how much of a team sport it is. It's bigger than you, So once you go out there and you learn how to coexist with people, and that's what it taught me. It taught me some valuable life lessons. It taught me how to push it to the limit. So I think it's crucial that kids go out and to any whatever it is, right? Whatever sport. But for me, it was football, and it was the Newark Pop Warners. So it really spoke volumes to me, and it gave structure at an early age.
I know, like when I saw you play, like when I saw you playing games, I just was really especially proud, right? Like in terms of the way you hit, the way you fought, even in terms of your career. As I said before, you didn't start automatically. You fought for it. So in terms of like the heart that you have and the struggle that you showed in terms of being able, like just that toughness and fight, how much of that was gained through like Pop Warner, the smaller, like the local level, the stuff that you did in high school? Can you talk to us about how that helped train you for the future?
Honestly, it's being where I'm from. It's Brick City, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just like, for me, it's the city that gave me the grit. It's the way my mom was brought up. It's the way my brother was brought up, and that's what was ingrained in me, So I possess that no quit, no nonsense type mentality, and that's ultimately what gave me the strength to endure, all of the rigors of the game. It was many times where I wanted to walk away, I wanted to quit. My brother didn't allow me, and then had friends that, they reeled me back in, and so to really get that grit in that organization at a young age, the Pop Warner, the league did that for me, but ultimately it was the city itself. Understanding that you can never look for any handouts. Nothing comes easy. You got to go out there and get it. And my mom taught me that, and that really ultimately came from growing up, in the city itself.
Tahir, my brother was a history major, but he said his first lessons, like you just said, was with that um, recreation coach out on the court. And you just said that when you was out there, it taught you how to coexist. I think that's very important. So when you're out talking to young students, um, how do they respond to you? And especially about that part about what sports have what sports has been to your life.
I think they take to it pretty good, because what you see is what you get from me. I'm not a phony, a fraud. I don't try to, all of the pleasantries regarding, life and the game and everything like that. I keep it real with them. And I think they appreciate that. The kids, they know when you're BSing them, and they can see right through it, especially where we come from. And I've seen, even when I was a kid, somebody came in there talking nonsense or it just wasn't relatable. I didn't really take to it well. So I'm always in the frame of mind of when I was in their seat, when I was in their shoes, how would I take the information that's being provided to me? So I bring myself to their level and understanding their pain, their hardships, and what they're going through. And I speak directly to that, and they appreciate it. And I always have kids hit me up on social media and just, I Instagram, Twitter, just saying how appreciative they are for me taking the time. Because I understand that's one thing, that's one of the most valuable things we have that we can't get back. And I always I always try to find ways to dedicate my time, It's easy to throw money at a situation, and money does help. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
when you show them through your time and your effort, and being there, being present, it speaks volumes.
Correct. I mean, you still the NFL must be the organization to give back is really important because I know, like I was saying earlier on, Jay Alford, you know, although he didn't retire, a long time, many years, he still has a great relationship with them. How important is that relationship with the NFL and allow you to do some of the things you want to do in our community?
I think as it really falls on you as the individual and what you try to do, because you bring, like me personally, I brought ideas to them as far as my community initiatives and things like that. For example, in Oakland, when I was the 2019, Oakland, the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for the Raiders, they gifted me, I got $50,000 to donate to whatever programs I wanted, so that wasn't me partnering with the Raiders. It was more so me doing my community-based works, not looking for anything, for doing that. And in turn, I got recognized for my hard work and my efforts. So, I partnered with a boxing gym in Detroit, donated 25,000 to them, donated 25,000 to the track. And, for me, it was like that was a great benefit that I had from being in the NFL, right? So, they have other organizations, other programs that, you can sign up for to get, but it's not an easy thing. So that's why a lot of the stuff that I've done throughout my career has been out of pocket. It's been out of pocket or close family, friends, volunteers that offer their time. And, I don't, because I always just wanted to get things done. I didn't want to have anything held up because you got to sign paperwork, you got to sign documents in order to get this funding. I just wanted to get it done. I wanted to be there for the kids, and that's exactly what I did. But now I'm in a frame of mind that I understand it takes partnerships,
Yeah.
to do things bigger and better, and that's where I am now with the, creating the Tahir Whitehead Foundation, partnering with, the Play It Forward Foundation for the 5K race, along with the Trek, the Newark Public Schools, Mayor Raz Baraka. Like, I can't do all of the things in which I'm doing without their support. So, as I know my career comes to an end, I'm looking to wrap it up.
Mhm.
I understand that I want to do more community works. I want to do the things that I've done before, that much better. So looking into partnering with companies like Moolah Mobile, Culture Wireless, who provide free tablets, to those that's in need on Section 8 housing, any government assistance that they could get signed up and get free tablets with Wi-Fi right out the box, and all you got to do is qualify on the government program. So that's what I'm dedicating more of my time to doing, is giving back to my community, giving back to those that are less fortunate or in need in a bigger and a more positive way.
And Tahir, later on, Congressman Payne will be on with us, and one of his bills is to ensure that everybody, especially in disadvantaged neighborhoods, has Wi-Fi. So make sure you reach out to Congressman Payne. So maybe it's a partnership there with you with the tablets.
No,
He passed legislation to ensure that Wi-Fi is in our community.
I appreciate that, and I'm definitely Marquise. Make sure you please make sure you link us about that, because I've been, it's a newly formed partnership and venture, but I'm looking to get into the Newark Public Schools, understanding the deficiency, with internet capabilities there, and COVID exposed all of that. So
Yes.
shout out to Congress, to Congressman Payne and everything, to fighting for that, and that is necessary, is needed, because how can you truly compete in this day and age without the resources like internet capabilities?
And my last question, you see, you have a son,
I have
Tahir?
four
Four?
kids,
Do they
four
like all
sons.
of them like football?
So my three oldest, they're into it. I honestly didn't push them towards football because I understand the rigors of the game and how the
Right.
compact the impact can do what they can do. But I also believe in letting kids be themselves and kind of choose their own path. So I just I didn't care what sport they did as long as they found something that they could take to. But they all love it. That was their lives for a long time, and now they enjoy it.
I was just going to ask you, are you going to be like LeBron and wants to play with his babies? You want to play with your sons in the NFL? That was like the big
Oh
story. So
no.
he wants to be on the court with his son. You're like, oh no, huh?
Look, nah, I
Not
can't.
yet.
Look, and football is a totally different sport. You get beat up
Right.
too much to be trying to do that.
Right.
That's right.
So question, right? Like, a lot of times when people think about football, they think about the physicality of it. Football is a really intellectual sport, right? Like the players have to, you've got to study, you've got to understand stuff, you have to know psychology, especially the position that you played. Like you're only 6'1", right?
6'2".
6'2", right? Like so you really, in order to play the position that you had to play, and this is true of all football, right? Like football is a highly intellectual sport. Do you think that is downplayed too much, right? Like when people look at football players, they don't really appreciate the levels to which you have to study, how smart you are, how intellectual you have to be. Do you think that that's downplayed too much?
Extremely, because you have to. Your very point. You have to be an intellectual to be able to pick up the game. You got 11. You got 11 moving pieces. You got to memorize 300 pages of a playbook. You got to memorize what the offensive plays and recognition is, the formations on offense. So it's so many moving parts, and then to apply what you know off the field or in practice and in your film room. Now you got to apply that, to it on the field, and now people are moving around, and you have to process this information going a million miles a second. And oh, by the way, you got somebody that's 6'5", 330 pounds trying to ear hole you, and then you have to maneuver around that, but keep your eyes and head on the swivel, and then still continue to think about the play as it progresses and what's your next progression. So I agree there. It's definitely not talk like it's definitely underplayed as far as how smart you have to be to even play the game and how physical the game is. But I chalk it up to people just being ignorant or not wanting to know or kind of understand the details, because in most people's mind it's entertainment. It's a gladiator sport, and they just like the old Roman days. You in a Coliseum. They just want to see you go out there, beat each other up, ding each other up, lay each other out, score the big plays, the touchdowns. So it's entertainment for most, but when you really take the time to dive into it, you have to be a certain type of, person to understand it, a certain type of smart physically and everything like that goes into the game, and it's the ultimate team sport, if you ask me, but hey, maybe I'm biased.
Yeah, I wanted to throw that out there, right? Because I know that like when it comes to like, again, you're 6'2", right? Like that, a lot of people are 6'2", but there are very few people who will be able to play at the level in which you play and be able to think at the level in which you think, to be able to do what you did at the level in which you do it, right? So I just want to always like whenever Ed Riley is the executive producer of the show. And I always respect, like, he's a boxer, right? He was a Golden Gloves boxer. He qualified for the Olympics. And what I realized is that athletes, right, especially athletes in sports that are violent in nature, have to be real intellectual to be great at it. They I just want to throw that out, and I wanted to
Tahir was a linebacker. The linebackers, those are quarterbacks of the defense.
Right.
Right. And so in NFL, they call it the green dot. So if you wear the green dot, you're basically you're calling the shots on defense.
That's right.
So I did that for seven out of the 10 years. So both middle linebacker, outside linebacker. It's been games I played 5 different positions in one game. So you can't. You got to have something to you to go out there and do that for sure.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
I think, John, as we get ready to close, I just wanted to say also, Tahir, very humble. He's very humble. and that's why that's my brother. We humble like that, but he really have opened the doors for other people behind him that have been drafted and went into the NFL on what they're supposed to do and what they need to do in order to keep that connection with their community. So I just wanted to, thank him publicly, for doing that, because now we got a lot of more North guys who going into the NFL, and Tahir done paved the way for them.
I appreciate that, brother.
Tahir, um,
Yes, ma'am.
we're also a hip hop radio show. And is this your first
Okay.
time on?
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Okay. So we always ask our guests who come on, what hip hop artist, individual, or guest are you listening to that motivates you when you're doing what? Like now, you're getting ready for this big weekend to give big the school supply give back, or when you're going into a room to talk to somebody. What is it? Who are you listening to that motivates you?
It really it depends. If I'm going to work out, I might be listening to, Lil Baby, a Lil Durk or something like that, maybe some Moneybag Yo. But if I'm in a vibe where it's like I want to be more grounded, and thinking about the pain and all of the stuff that's taking me to get to where I am, I'm more so listening to Rod Wave, that when he rap slash sing and talk to me.
I want to make sure our DJ know. I think the second artist is. I don't think that artist has ever been. Have anybody ever said the artist? Um, somebody has said that. I have. Okay, the first time I've heard. All right, so here, Jonathan talking. I'm gonna go back one second. He was talking about how smart you have to be, and while you're out there and you're looking at the different plays, you see a lot of football players leaving, going back into their leaving football to go into their profession. I know I was listening to one player who went back and um and went back to school, and now he's a doctor right now, and there are several others. Do you think because it's such a dangerous sport. I don't know if that's the right word. That it's just not something that the longevity, and you really have to plan for a future a lot quicker than you with other sports.
100%. I think professional sports in general is not, as long lived as, if you're a doctor, a lawyer, something like that, that you could do for 40 plus years, right? Eventually your body break down on you. And more so in football, you're constantly getting your bell rung, they like to call it, or, your head rattled. So in the NFL, the average career is about 2 to 3 years, right? So you have a draft every year, and every year they're looking for the top talent and things like that. So in order to, know, like we understand that, that 2 to 3 year span, that's not going to set you up for life, more times than not. So we actually call the NFL and say it stands for not for long. Because the very thing that you just stated, that it don't last long at all. And once you transition, I'm 32 years old. I've played 10 years. And, I'm considering, hanging the cleats up myself. And then I got to ask myself, what am I going to do next? Because I still got a long, more years ahead of me, Lord willing, than, I have behind me. So, you definitely have to stay in that frame of mind of what's next, because at any point, even if you have a 10-year career, 2-year career, that's still going to be young once you're done, and you have to transition to something else. And especially if you got 4 children like myself, college ain't getting less, getting cheaper. So you got to find ways to, fund college and everything like that. If your kids don't go out there and get an athletic scholarship or academic scholarship or whatever the case. So it definitely takes planning. You got to be smart with your money, which, for me, I'm adamant. I'm adamant about teaching people about financial literacy, in the inner city, in the NFL, because it's about 75 or so percent, guys go broke or bankrupt once they're done, a couple years after the league. And that that statistic is alarming to me, and I hate to see it. So I always told myself I'm not going to be a statistic, just the same way I told myself I wasn't going to be a statistic growing up. So I'm adamant about teaching the younger guys that's coming up in the league behind me how to be smart with their money, financial literacy, financial wellness, and what that looks like, even going back home and having seminars about it, as early as high school. So, you got it, but you got to have a purpose. You got to do everything and be intentional. And that's
What
exactly what I plan on doing.
What are some of the most important things? Because like you brought up when you're bringing up financial literacy and you're bringing up like what happens with a lot of athletes, right? Like who don't have a lot of money after they leave. What are some of the most important things that were important to you to make sure that that wouldn't happen? Like if you can tell me the top three, just so that young people, they can hear what are the top three things that were most important for your financial future if you are privileged enough to be in that position.
So, regardless of profession and everything like that, I'll say learn how to balance a checkbook. Understand income, what your income is. You know, gross versus net, and everything like that, and what your expenses are. You got to know your expense and your budget and everything like that. Your budget sheet. Secondly, I say, you know, don't try to go out there and invest in anything. That's not proven or that's new. Stick to the safe stuff. Uh, put something in the S&P 500, your portfolio, whatever it is, to be able to just ride the wave. Since just doing my reading since 1918, stock market has averaged about 10% return on your money. But you got to be able to sit it there, set it, forget it, and that's long term aspect.
You said
Saying
S
the
and P
third is
500.
real
Can you
estate.
break that down? You said S&P 500. You're like put it in there and say what? Can you break down quickly? Like what is the S&P 500?
So it's pretty much is the New York stock, all is on the New York Stock Exchange and everything like that. It's investment portfolio is one option. It's an index. I mean that you could pretty much park your money into. And there's other aspects of it. You got stocks, bonds, mutual funds, so many other ways that you can invest your money. And then obviously you go on, insurances, all this other stuff. But to keep it simple, you got the NASDAQ, you got the S&P 500. You got Apple stock, Amazon stock, Google. You want to look for blue chip companies, that's going to that has a good business model that's going to be around for a long time, and that they have good business practices. So for me, if you could put some money in there that you kind of take a bit of your check every week, every month, every bi-weekly, however, you park it there and you just let that money grow, get that compound interest, and that's the money that you're not utilizing for anything, and that's for your in your retirement, so to speak. And it's the same thing like your 401k. So for me, but the third thing is real estate. I've always been adamant about
And
real estate. Got
Tahir,
into it in
just go back.
2014.
Tahir, real quick. You said something real quick, but you said it fast. You said you said get it, put it there and forget it. Like just leave it. Don't even think about it. That was yeah. Say that again.
Set it, set it, and forget it. That's my motto, and I live by that. Whatever I put in my investment portfolio, that's not money that I need today. That's not money that I need tomorrow. Not money that I need a year from now, 5 years. That's money that you're parking and putting in a retirement vehicle until like 20 years down the line. Then you circle back and then you're ready to utilize it. That's something when you're no longer active in your profession that you can go and start to pull money out of. So every time you get a check, you got to break down your check, whatever fits your household. For me, I take about 75% of my money, and then I kind of put it in, in my put like 50% in my investment portfolio. Other 25 I might dibble and dabble in, startup companies or investment opportunities, real estate, whatever it is. But I really just try to live about 25% of my money. I try to live off of, and then real estate. Everyone's always going to need a place to live, whether you're a homeowner, whether you're a renter. And for me, I wanted to revamp my city, revamp North, or help in any aspect. So it's like I've partnered with, I have, a partner, investor in a construction company slash development company, Mid-Atlantic Alliance. That's a Newark-based company where, we're building a 41-unit apartment building across from Arts High School in St. Benedict's. We're, minority partner on the Coweta Towers project. Yeah, I mean, that's downtown Newark or Central Ave, and then just doing a bunch of other duplexes throughout the city, rehabs and things of that nature, because at the end of the day, you got to give people something to be proud about. And if you give them trash, then people going to treat it like trash. You give them something nice and you give them something worthwhile, then they'll treat it as such. They have more pride in it, and even partnering with the city where they have a program to transition people off of Section 8 housing into being homeowners, so
That's right.
providing more units for people, that's on affordable housing, things like that, which the 66 unit apartment project, that's the Coweta Towers project, is fully affordable housing, 100% affordable housing, and then the one on Martin Luther King is about like 20% or so, so it's just being able to utilize, and leverage your position and what we're in to give back and understand, some of the programs. I intend to take some of the kids or take some of the participants and allow them to be partners with me on real estate projects. And they only benefit if they are actively partners in learning the process, right? Because everyone can't make it to the NFL. It's only 2,000 jobs, total. And that's including active guys and practice squad. Everybody can't make it to the NBA. It's only about 450 or so jobs. Everyone can make it to the MLB, so on and so forth. It's limited spots in these professional sports. So you got to be able to frame your mind around different industries. So that's why I try to learn as much as I can. I get into real estate. I got some trucks and everything, and the logistics and everything like that. Try to take advantage of corporate contracts. You got to be able to, learn about the different things that we're not taught about in school, which, that's another story. But you got to learn about different industries to see how you can sustain yourself, your family, and, not put all your chips in one basket, all your eggs in one basket.
All right. No,
That was a great three things, and that trucking is. Man, we had a young man on not too long ago who was talking about the trucking industry and the supply and demand, especially right now. So
and
we would love
logistics.
for you to come back and just talk
Yep.
about sports, but the business side of it, especially for our young our young babies who are in flag football, who have their eyes, they're looking at the
Yep.
NFL, and that is
Yep.
looking at it more of as a career instead of a tool. You know.
Yes. And I preach it all the time. Hey, look, they say student athlete for a reason. Be a student of something, whatever it is. Be a student of it, learn it, take it all in, be a sponge. Then that athletics come next, because that can be taken away from you. What you put up here, what you learn with that degree, that's yours forever. But
Mhm.
so I'm willing to jump back on whenever you guys want to have me. So I appreciate it.
Thank
No,
you.
we definitely appreciate you, man. We definitely appreciate you. I always think it's really important, right? Like when we get things from the city, we always give back to it. And one of the things I always say about debate, I say that if you're a debater in Newark and you've been successful, you did well because of Newark, not in spite of Newark,
That's
right?
right.
Like, and I think it's important that we always like talk about, like, because we always have these stories of kids who be like, I survived, I got out, right? But I was like, no, I mean, like there are a lot of people who do a lot of stuff so that we can be successful because of North, not in
Yes.
spite of. And I think it seems like from today, that's your story too, right? Like in terms of your relationship with Marquise, the lessons from North, the education that you received. It seems like you did well because of North, not in spite of North.
Exactly right. It's about reframing, your mind and reframing the words, from that negative sense to the positive, because we have enough negativity surrounding the city in general. You see it on the news. They think we aren't nothing but criminals and convicts, and it's like we're so much bigger than that. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of positive and influential people, a lot of things going on in Newark, and I want to shed light on it.
Well, we look forward to you coming back. I think you have your next thing in November when you do the turkey, when you get ready for the holidays. So please,
Yes.
if nothing before, please see us before you do the big holiday giveaway.
Absolutely. And also, we have our
Indeed.
last question. We do have our question that we
I
ask everybody.
asked them. You missed
Yeah,
it,
she asked
Jonathan.
about
I
10 minutes
asked
ago.
that. I'm
Oh,
on,
okay, you're
bro.
right.
Well,
You did. You did. Normally, it's the last thing we do, but then we
I,
just started going on,
That's
and you
yeah,
started
we
that's
giving
all
kept
right.
going.
That's all
amazing
right.
answers
Yeah.
on I'm taking notes on financial literacy, and I'm
Yes.
forgetting about the artists you mentioned.
So
hey,
I
it's all
hope you
love,
get to
man.
spend some time down to 24 hours apiece and wish you a tremendous success with your program next week. And again, the mic is yours whenever you feel like coming on.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Good segment. Good
Yep.
segment.
That was a great segment, right? Like, and always an honor when kids come back.
Why I feel like we got security tonight? Rob, you security? Because you're not answering no question. I feel really safe. Rob,
Wow. Yo,
Rob is
Rob, she
not
called
answering
me
any
Oh,
questions.
security,
don't
man.
worry. I'll be back. I'll be back, and I'll be
Yo, Rob,
more.
Donna trying to call you. She said, "Man, you security. You keeping us safe."
That's right. That's right. You should be buffing up. Don't mess with y'all now.
All right. So how are you, man? Like, I know we have about 15 minutes before the congressman comes on, and one of the things that I know and Zaid, I know you're going to get into this. You're going to get into Jackson, but before we get into what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi, tell me about, like, Rob. I've had mad respect for you for many years. In terms of the work that you do in poetry, the work that, like, you are part of a poetic community. You are a real poet. You are a poet who happens to teach. You are a brilliant educator. You are a brilliant teacher. But I think that it is your brilliance in poetry that just shines over in everything else. Can you give us some back? And I know you're very humble, but I'm not trying to have you be humble right now. So can you give me some? Tell us some of the stuff you do in poetry, some of the stuff that you've traveled, some of the places you've been, because I think everyone in Newark needs to know that we have an artistic community that is vibrant and strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you
Like
working on?
a lot of people don't know that I even am published as well. I'm on Amazon. I have a book called In America: The Story of an Immigrant. Uh, if you look on the Robert Hilton, you can find it. It's about my grandmother. The book surrounds my grandmother and the immigrant struggle. I am from Jamaica. All right. And I came here when I was very young at 11 years old. And a lot of the poetry that people gravitate to the most is like the immigrant poems that I perform, as well as some of the hip hop poems that I perform. And I make the connection between hip hop and Jamaica because I'm coming out of the Bronx. I'm talking about uh, Cool Herc and so forth.
You heard. That's right.
People don't know. A lot of people don't know that Newark has been represented so many years over the years in national poetry slams. Oh, there it is. Who looked that up? That had to be Austin. That had to be John. We're represented we represent Newark in a poetry slam called the Southern Fried. And before that, if you don't know what slamming is, it's poetry in competition. All right, and it's on a very high level. So a lot of that news is not spread. We don't put it in like the broadcast, and we don't call newspapers, but we just go out and enjoy ourselves. I have a host of students that I taught. I was at Weequahic High School for 26 years, who came out, and they also became active in the community as poets and activists. All right. As you all know, I used to teach with Bashir Akinyele, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about. He's probably at that rally right now.
Oh, hey, he's there. Yeah, everybody's there.
Everybody's there except for me, right?
Yeah.
So there is a movement.
Except for us.
Except for us, yeah. There's a poetry movement in our community with young people that are gravitated into poetry, and it's been like this for a while. But poetry doesn't get the accolades that it really deserves. We all know that. All right, but it's a really important art form. So those are some of the things that I have done, and some of the things that I am doing.
Yeah, Rob, it's funny. I was just looking. NJ Pack just sent out their annual. The show was
Yeah,
coming up.
I saw that
You see
show.
that? The poetry, yeah.
I know
And the
what you're
guy,
talking about. You're talking about you're talking about some top-notch poets that are going to be there.
and I just sent it out to the group. There's gonna be a hip hop one with Chuck D. I just sent it out to everybody. Rakim, hip hop and poetry. Chuck D and Rakim, and they're gonna be it's September. Since when is it? What is it?
This one, yeah, this one that's coming up at NJ Pack is going to be like really massive. I mean, you have Sonia Sanchez, and you have Jessica Kim Moore, and you have some young poets. And I hope you guys get a chance to check it out. I'm definitely going to check it out.
Rob, I used to work at CUNY, and the one that Talib Kweli's mother did at Medgar Evers, she was over the English department. The Black Writers.
And Donna, your camera's a little sideways.
Yeah, you're like, yeah.
I'm sideways.
I'm a little dizzy.
I am.
You know, yeah, we know you.
I'm multitasking. I'm typing.
Yeah,
that's better.
Any way to straighten up the camera or not?
You want me doing like
yes,
this?
that is it.
Okay.
All right.
I'll put the camera. The one that's done at Medgar Evers every other year, the Black Writers Conference.
National Black Writers Conference.
Right. That was that one. You could be in that room and anybody could walk in that auditorium. Dr. Brenda, I can't think of her last name, but Talib Kweli's mom, and she's over the English department, was at Medgar Evers. I don't know if she's still there, but that was that is a beautiful program.
Yeah. I believe there's a Patterson Poetry Festival going on. Yeah. There's actually, guys, a calendar. I'm going to try to share that. A calendar of New Jersey poetry.
Yeah, that's James Ellerby.
You can put it in the chat. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so if you're interested, definitely there's a calendar. If you want to go out and check out, some really strong poets.
James Ellerby. The poetry is doing a lot better than relatively speaking than has in previous years. Newark is one of the mothers of the Black arts movement from the 60s and 70s. Newark and Harlem were the two primary seeds of the Black arts movement, but we had a down period too. Now we were on with Marcia Brown. Marcia Brown and I were trying to do things during the down period, right? Now when
was the down period, Bubba?
The down period, the early 80s, right? Early 80s.
Oh, yes.
It was the down period, Those are the Reagan Bush days. And,
you're right.
Shift to the right in terms of the national mood of the country. There was a shift away from any emphasis on the arts in terms of funding and all those things. And we were just having some real problems in our community. There were those community problems that put a lot of us in prison, and a lot of us in the cemetery, a lot of us addicted for the rest of our lives. All that stuff was mushrooming at the same time. So me and Marcia represent that generation that was trying to hold on until y'all could come on along and do your thing.
and that was basically in the late 90s. I would say Jessica Kim Moore. I remember seeing her maybe on 96 on the Apollo.
Yeah, she was a baby. Yeah,
where she won like 6 times.
That was an important moment for the arts.
She definitely put spoken word on the map. Not just poets, the spoken word. I think she's responsible for putting that on the map.
There he is, DJ.
Rhino. So what's going on, man? How's 24 hours?
Live and on location. DJ
Peace.
Ride. What's going on at 24 hours?
Can y'all hear me?
We can hear you well.
Well,
okay.
Before you do that, Rob, before you go and tell us that, Rob, what hip hop artist or individual you listening to these days?
These days, I'm going way back. I'm only faithful to a few artists. Maybe Nas. I bought his albums recently.
Okay.
There's De La Soul. I was playing that today. I still love Kanye West's work. A lot of old school, KRS-One, Rakim, a lot of underground, the Souls of Mischief from California, from that Bay Area.
Okay.
Yeah, I listen. To. I don't really have a favorite. That's such a hard question. That hip hop question.
Okay. No, it's not your favorite. Who's inspiring you? So it could be different. You're right.
Who's inspiring me right now is really Most Def.
Okay.
Yeah, Most Def, and I have to say Kanye West. He inspires me a lot, because his work is top notch. As far as I'm talking about passion. When he performs, when you hear Kanye, he does it with passion, and I'm about 100%. So I love Kanye's energy.
You heard that
politics around him.
You heard that DJ Rhino. And who did Tahir say again? Who was the artist he said?
I didn't identify with that. He said a name. I didn't even know.
Who did Tahir say? It'll come back to us. But Rhino, yeah, because it was the first time. So we had a first time name that I'd ever heard. I could be wrong.
What was the first time?
It sounded like a regular name, like the hip hop artist Dave East. It sounded like something like that. It was the first and the last name.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. What's going on, DJ? Another year now. You down to 24 hours apiece.
Yeah, I kind of just got here. I dropped my daughter and her friend off, so they can get up on, into the action. So I just found parking just now, so I haven't even like gotten out to see what's going on yet. But just in listening, because I always make sure I keep the windows down. Just in listening while I was looking for parking, it sounds like so far they've had like a lot of the unknown groups, the artists that went on. I know a lot of people are waiting to see Latifah. She hasn't gotten on to host yet. I don't know if that's going to happen today or tomorrow. I know some of the artists, and they're probably going to wait for tomorrow to do like some of the bigger artists like Faith Evans, CL Smooth. They got Fabulous that's supposed to be coming through. G Herbo. There's a lot of artists that's big name artists that's supposed to be coming. But I'm not sure what the lineup is as far as who's going on tonight, who's going on tomorrow. But for those who don't know, it's 24 hours apiece here in Newark, right here on Springfield Avenue between Bergen and Littleton. And it's going on from 6 p.m. tonight till 6 p.m. tomorrow, Saturday night. And again, it's going to be hosted. It's supposed to be hosted by Queen Latifah, and there's going to be a number of artists. I want to just shout out some of the local artists who don't normally get their shine, but I'm sure a lot of them are going to be. You're going to hear a lot of them tonight, like Queen Moore Poet, Bella, Hope, Speakers, River Bay, Bex Guard, Denise Brown, Tay and Zay, Tuka the Don, Serenity JL, Ace the Face, Diggs, Squeeze Boys, Five Familiar, Biddles, Trace Sev, Umi Boomin, Nasaf, Musa Major, Chops, my man Chops. Big ups to my man Chops. And big ups to his queen as well. If anybody knows Gail Campbell, if you ever heard of Gail Campbell, that's my man Chops' queen. And she's doing big things musically out here. And big ups to I can't even think of the other brother right now. The brother that's producing her right now. Big ups to them. But yeah, Chops is supposed to be there. Swerve, Chad B, and my man Ibmatic. Ibmatic is actually that's my boy Push Button's son, who's been doing a lot of big things with his music. Push Buttons, when I was coming up out here in Newark, Push Buttons was one of the engineers. He was a producer, and we used to do a lot of things at the Armory that used to be on Sussex Avenue. But his son Ibmatic, since he was a little kid, real little, he put Ibmatic, into the whole rap thing. Taught him what it was in hip hop, and so Ibmatic's been doing a lot of big things. So he's supposed to be performing here tonight too. So big ups to Ibmatic as well. And so, yes, again, supposed to be a lot of folks going on tonight and tomorrow. I know there's a lot of people that's going to try to come out tomorrow because, they're figuring they're going to wait out for the big artists. Again, it's supposed to be, let me see if I can pull it up here. Yeah, it's supposed to be Faith Evans, Fabulous, Mr. C, DJ Qua's gonna be there, G Herbo's gonna be there, Fabio's gonna be there. It's gonna be a lot of folks, man. It's of course, you know, Hakeem's gonna be up in the house. CO Smooth. It's gonna be huge. So yeah, just look out for it. And if anybody can come out, come on out. It's a free event. It's outside. We outside. You know, everybody's looking like they, you know, getting ready to have fun. You know, like I said, I just got here as far as parking. I dropped my daughter and her friend off, and I just pulled up parking wise. But yeah, it's popping off tonight. 24 hours apiece, y'all. Come on out. Y'all there?
Oh, DJ Rhino, can you hear me?
We're here.
DJ,
y'all there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Where is it located?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Where is it located?
It's on Springfield Avenue. Springfield Avenue between Bergen and Littleton.
Okay,
between
so
Bergen
really
Street and Littleton.
So it's right next to where the movie theater is.
Right. I'm literally in the Home Depot parking lot.
Okay, the Home Depot parking lot is all filled up.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's nice though.
Yep.
That's nice.
That's nice to have though, because you got the movie theater parking lot and you got the Home Depot lot. That's nice.
Yeah, and you got the Wendy's and Applebee's and
you can go down the shot right and walk up the hill. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
All right, so that's actually pretty cool. So it's actually centrally located in Newark, because I know last year it was on like Broad Market, and it was cool. It was great. You just walk to the concert, and now it's at a different location. They're getting a lot of people too, so I think that's great too.
Yeah, on my way in, I stopped at the store to get me some snacks, and a lady stopped and she said, "Yeah, I'm trying to get home. There's a concert in my neighborhood." And I was telling her, she said that she didn't know about 24 hours apiece. So it's good that they're moving to other neighborhoods. So more people. Newark is big. Like Newark is big. If you drive from the South Ward to the North Ward, Newark is wow. You know. Really, really big. I came across one day and I was like, my goodness, it's really big. So it's nice. Broader Market is a great venue, but it's nice to take it to other venues as well.
Yeah, definitely. So again, if anybody's looking for something to do, come on out. It's happening for 24 hours from 6 p.m. It started at 6 p.m. tonight and it's going on till 6 p.m. tomorrow night. So wherever you at, if you're in close proximity, if you're looking for something to get into, you're just trying to get out and hang out, you know what I mean? It's going on for 24 hours, so come on down. We in Newark, Springfield Avenue. Yep.
That's right.
That's right.
And how far do we know how close are Jonathan, how is this near the area that Queen Latifah is redeveloping at? Jonathan?
That's further down. That's further down.
But it's not too far.
It's further down, but it's not far.
It's further down, going towards Irving.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just going to ask is, I love Queen Latifah. She's one of my favorite people. You said she's going to be on tomorrow.
Oh, she your favorite?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure when she's going to come on. I know she's supposed to be hosting the event, but so far she hasn't gotten on yet. So we're still waiting to see Queen Latifah.
That's going to be great because the crowd is going to go crazy.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure they're not going to keep all of the big names for tomorrow because they gotta have some meat for the day too. You know what I mean? So I'm sure there's gonna be some surprises. So, but yeah, everybody's waiting for Latifah.
The big names at late at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
if I was there and I see Fabulous, I'll be like FABO. That would be the first thing I would say. I was like, hey, FABO. So
my daughter, all she was talking about was Fabio and G Herbo. That's all she wanted to see is Fabio and G Herbo. She wants to see Latifah too, but she wants to see Fabio and G Herbo.
Yeah, make sure you got
That's her
some footage.
generation.
Make sure you got us some footage last year, so get us some good footage. Just, if you can.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
miss
we'll
my
end up. That's what we'll do. We'll end up having a report on this again next week.
like Jonathan claiming wives out there. I missed my husband last year. It was Jada was in the building last year.
Jadakiss,
Whoa.
right?
Yeah,
Jadakiss. Yeah, man. Jada was hot last year.
Jada,
After that versus, man, he was hot. Yeah.
Jada's that dude. Yeah. So, and I was looking at some footage for last year, and somebody was up on the stage doing pull-ups and everything. Was that Jada in them? Somebody was on the stage doing
I
pull-ups.
think Jada did jump in and do some pull-ups.
Because they did that. Now it made me think of that because you were talking about when they were doing the verses and how one was healthy and then the other, just health kicked in. Oh, Congressman is here. You at 24 hours apiece, sir?
Not yet.
Not yet. You
Oh,
on
you're
your
getting ready to go.
Once I'm done here, I'm meeting my monthly obligation here, and then I'm going down.
All right.
Well, we are honored as always.
How you doing there, sir?
I'm well.
You get ready to go do some work?
Month hiatus. We took off a month, and now here we are.
Now you ready to do some break dancing tonight, huh?
I don't know about that. Now you're meddling.
Well, let me tell you first. We had Tahir, NFL football player Tahir from North, Whitehead on from North, and he's going to be reaching out to you about your internet legislation because he's giving out laptops and everything. He's very committed to make sure young people get laptops and have internet in their home. So they're reaching out to you.
Yeah, you're going to see over the next 12 months or so the availability for broadband in our communities, grow exponentially. We passed the broadband bill, and we're very proud of it. Mr. Clyburn, who has been at the head of the clarion call for quite some time to get that done, finally got it done. So we're very, very proud of that. And, that impacts rural areas as much as it does urban areas. So even though he's from a very rural part of, a rural state, they, some people in his district still are using dial-up.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't even believe it.
Yeah. Can you imagine dial-up?
You got mail.
Right. You got mail.
Right.
What was that Sony piece of equipment that you used in the beginning? If you didn't have a computer?
Sony?
Yes. Sony had something where you could text people, send them messages if you didn't have a computer.
What, you talking about the Palm Pilot? No, you're talking about in the house. In the house. No, in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
We gotta look that up.
I know, right?
And technology began to move so fast too, because we've been a generation. We had beepers. We had that big clocky cell phone. Remember the first cell phone? It was like,
oh yeah, big. You had to hold it with one hand under it and one hand on it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Then we have went through technology. Wow. Just thinking.
And
I'm really excited to go down and support the mayor in this effort, 24 hours of peace, and I hope we can achieve the goal, of that. I already saw the motorcycle and the four-wheeler gangs out there driving. So I hope they're not trying to disrupt what's going on.
So, Congressman, tell us about Soul of a Nation. You told us Biden ain't one to play with. Is somebody pissed him off? What's going on?
No, I mean it's he's just been very methodical in his approach.
Yeah.
The man has been preparing for this office, this job for 30 years. So he kind of has an idea of what he wants to see for the American people. He got us all vaccinated. Don't give him credit for that. He saved people's businesses. Naturally, some people abuse the opportunity. But I mean, he's really, history is going to be very kind to this president. And when it looks back at the things that he accomplished, it's going to be very favorable. And just so people know, the remnants and the inflation and the issues that you see in the country did not start with President Biden. That is the residual of Donald Trump. Things take a year or two to take effect. So this backlash, this inflation, all these problems, the gas going up, is really residual of part of the Trump administration. Now Biden has some part to do with it, but a lot of it has to do with Donald Trump. So you always inherit the last guy's deal. Look at when Obama went in. He had the biggest deficit in the nation. He didn't create it. He inherited it. And so Biden has inherited a lot of, Bush's nonsensical tax breaks for the top 1%. So, I need people to try to understand that. Now,
I think he handled. Remember, he said that people were saying, "Well, talk to the gas companies," and he had a real good comeback. He said, "I did talk to Exxon. They won't. They won't. They had a lot of permits pulled. There's a real good piece." Biden, when people try to snap and catch him off guard, he's ready. He responded with the facts. We've talked to. He said, "You call Exxon. Ask them how many dividend. Ask them how much they have received. How much during this." Yeah, he said
they propped them up too. Listen, I always joke with the president. I said, Delaware guys are just South Jersey guys. They're basically South Jersey guys. He comes back with it. He ain't playing. You pop one off of him. He got a response for you. He ain't playing that, especially if you're not right.
That's right. And I even just seen a headline, Biden, all these local papers are going after Mayor Lumumba down in Jackson, but Biden was like, no, this is on the governor. The governor has to do, the mayor has been doing what he's supposed to do. The governor is not doing what he's supposed to down in Mississippi.
Absolutely. That's a state issue. That's, just like with Newark with the lead pipe service lines, the state, the county all got involved to help us alleviate that issue. That's not anything a municipality in the poorest state in the country is going to be able to muster. They've done their part. They've been patching it to try to keep it together. But now you see the governor has come in. They got one pump fixed, and the other one will be fixed by next week. So the embarrassment, has gone nationwide. Now he's stepping up to the plate. Now, that's what we have to do.
Now, one of the things that Zaid and I were talking about earlier, and especially in Jackson, and we've had Rukia Lumumba on before, and one of the things that it seems like was going on, and you talked about it just now, is that the state was deliberately trying to underfund and not do repairs to try to create this crisis so that they could control the water, right? Like, as in they can own the water.
Plus just to embarrass a man with that name.
Right.
That's what it comes down to. They're just trying to embarrass a man with that name and the color of his skin.
And it's also a matter of like trying to get that revenue too, because like all over the really all over the world, right? And especially in the United States. And you were a part of stopping this in Newark, right? Like you were that deciding vote. There are people who are trying to buy municipal water, as you know,
Right.
and buy municipal water supplies. There are other states, right, that are trying to control water supplies because they can sell water, they can get that revenue coming into the state.
Hey, John, don't make that just like a passing comment. I saved the water system for the residents of the city of Newark.
No, you
right?
did, right? You were the deciding vote.
Don't just make it like a throwaway line.
I'm going to come back to that too.
Hey, you hear me?
Because no, that I am with you.
That ain't no throwaway line.
I'm with you on that, right? Because it came down to one vote, and that one vote would have forever had Newark lose control of its water. And this is kind of along the same question, right? Forever had Newark lose control of its water. Should there be federal? Ed, I think along the same question, right? Ed, I think you have had Newark lose control of its water. Ed, your mic is on. So you were coming through. Ed, yeah, your mic is on. Yeah, so just you have stuff going on in the background, so it's creating an echo. But welcome, Ed. But to Congressman, you really did. You were the deciding vote that kept Newark's water supply local. Do you think that there should be some maybe federal legislation, maybe just a constitutional amendment in Newark and in other local municipalities that forbid, that keep the water supply local, that make it impossible to privatize water, to give that to the state? Because it seems like one vote in 1 year, it seems like if there's democracy and people are going to be in control of their water, that means that they have to be winning every single vote on that. They lose one vote, they lose control of their water supply forever. Does that seem like we need to have a constitutional amendment in Newark or some type of federal legislation that will prevent like people losing control of their water? Like
no, that
a supermajority vote.
That needs to be a question when people attempt to become our elected officials. Ask them how they feel about our water, and what they would do. What side of the issue do they come down on? And then that's one of the questions we ask them to see if they're qualified to serve us in those municipalities. I don't think you can get into the Constitution about the water.
Well, I was talking about in terms of Newark's Constitution or something that would be beyond a simple majority vote, because people can like politicians. I think it was Willie Brown that said, if you can't look at somebody in the face, take their money, and stab them in the back, then you shouldn't be a politician, right?
Hey,
I mean, I'm not you at all.
Easy, John. Hey, they're bad. Look, they're bad teachers.
Right.
Now, I can't say that all teachers are crooked and rotten. So
absolutely.
We need to come off of that about public officials. I'm really getting sick and tired of that, because they paint us with all one brush, and all of us ain't out here doing that. So,
but you're right.
Look, there's bad cops, bad teachers, bad everything. It's the person, it's the individual. It's not the vocation.
That's true, but going back to this, like, should a simple majority ever determine whether or not we have control of our water in Newark? Because you saved the Newark, your vote saved Newark's water from being privatized. That's
now
true.
that might be the answer. That it has to be, has to be a super majority rather than a simple majority. Hey, Brother Dumas, you called me earlier. I'll shout you out.
I don't know.
Later.
I don't know about these getting into this supermajority stuff. That's why the Senate is all screwed up now.
Okay.
We can't get anything done, because there have been several occasions where if it didn't have to be 60+1, we could have gotten a lot of legislation done when Obama was in when Obama was in office, and other people. This 60 supermajority is a bogus law that I think keeps us from. It's one man, one vote. It's the majority rules, and that's the way it is. Now we just
Because
got to make
now
sure
it's
that
only two.
people. We just got to make sure people are there. I knew what I wanted as a Newarker, being a lifelong Newarker. I knew what I wanted, and I knew what my constituents wanted. So you just got to make sure you elect the right people. Hey, look, some communities want to privatize, monetize it, and get the
I think they
revenue.
don't just privatize, but that's where the voter has to understand the importance of their vote.
Exactly.
That's what has to happen. But right now, supermajority votes are basically for like budgets and things like that now at the local level.
But what I was saying in terms of that is, like in Detroit, they privatized their water, but they regretted it and couldn't get it back, right? Like they were cut that, like in Detroit, there's massive water cutoffs. They're raising prices. It's kind of like a hustle, right? Like they say, hey, we're going to give you all this money, we're going to give you billions of dollars, but you're going to lose control over water. And I'm not saying supermajority over everything, but on something as basic as water, right? Like we all need it. That's why you voted the way you did. You're like, no, we can't give up on water, right? Is it time to be like, hey, we need to, like, if you're a politician even thinking about privatizing water, we need to make it so you don't have the power to make that one decision without a supermajority. Not all decisions.
We got to vet them. We got to vet them before we let them in.
Okay.
We got to vet them before we let them in.
Elections, you got to vote. You got to be there to vote, because that votes your interest.
Right.
Or if you don't vote.
And listen, and if they go against what they said, then guess what? You're one term. This is your last term.
But even if it's their last term, you still don't got your water back. Like once people give up water, it's almost impossible to get it back, right? Like you sign these deals, it's 99 years or 50 years.
Well, you don't have to sign it for 99.
Well, that goes into the agreement that you signed too. So people that are against this should make sure that there aren't codicils in there, or some points in there where you can, like, if this is not working out and it's not meeting the goals, then it can revert back to the municipality. You just got to write the legislation the right way.
But Congressman, can we talk about how exactly, how were you able to save the water in Newark? I mean, people don't really know. So, because that was a major, with that vote. But there was remember, one of the things you talked about, I don't know if it was last month or the month before, when you were talking about the position you were put in, when you were on the council. And of course, how Cory Booker and them, they had the money. You didn't have the money in terms of getting, campaigning and so forth. Right. And and people didn't understand the kind of pressure you were under at that time, but you understood that this was a much bigger issue. Can you just talk a little bit about that? Because I think that, like you said, we don't want to just gloss over that, because I mean, that literally could have been the end of your political career, right? Particularly in the city of Newark.
This was beginning and the end. So, so it was, I ran in the election, and then I got to the runoff, and I was fifth. And I was out of money. And Booker, both camps had been asking me to run with them. I started out with the James camp, and Mayor James just kept talking about, don't worry about me. You do this, do that, do that. And I just got uncomfortable because I didn't know what he was going to do. So I got off of the chart, the James team with Bessie Raz and Norma Gonzalez, and ran independent of either team. I ran alone my first campaign. I didn't run on either team, but the Booker team was courting me, and Mayor James and them were, Payne is still open, and so I made it to the runoff, but I was out of money, and so the key was the key was to win, to become elected. So I went with I was interviewed by Booker, the Booker team. 3 of us were interviewed: Gail Cheneyfield, myself, and Raz Baraka. And we all went down and met with them, and they chose me. And so, I was able to run with them. And the only thing that changed in that race, folks, was Mildred Crump first, Louis Quintana second, Raz Baraka third, Carlos Gonzalez fourth, and me fifth. Then after the runoff, it was Mildred Crump first, Louis Quintana second, Donald Payne third, Carlos Gonzalez fourth, and Raz Baraka fifth. So we just flipped positions, and
Wow.
a lot of people were upset, but I made it there. But I was there to do what was right for the people. That's why I ran independent of either team. I said I'm not on the Booker team or the James team. I'm on the people's team, and the rest is history. Now, with the water situation, they had worked this whole plan up, and we're gonna sell to privatize it, and talked about the MUA and how wonderful it was going to be. And as I read it, I was on the watershed at the time. As I read it, I just wasn't sure if this was going to be the best thing for the people. So I then subsequently, kept my mouth shut. But for some reason, they just assumed that I was going to vote for it because, I was lobbying to be council president, and, a couple of people that I didn't think would support me ended up supporting me, but I think it was because they thought, I was going to do this thing. So here's the tricky part. They never asked me, and I never told them how I was going to vote.
Right.
But I kept waiting. Like every time they meet, they were all happy. Right. They were getting this big thing was coming. They were Hey, look, a couple people, and I won't name names, they'd have been able to retire. They'd be in retirement right now off of that thing. That's how much money they were going to make. They'd have been in retirement right now. They wouldn't even be working anymore. And so it just wasn't a good deal for the new people. And I knew how they felt. I knew how we feel about our water. And so I wasn't going for that. And if they had asked me, Ed, I would have told them. I'm not a phony. Nobody asked me, so I didn't volunteer it. But if they had asked me, I would have been like, no, I can't do that. And so I probably wouldn't have been council president. I'd have lost, some of those. But what I learned that night too was, and Donna, you understand this. At the end of the day, the only seat that counts up there when it comes down to it is that president's seat. That divide. I learned that first night. Right. I was like, oh my God.
He's got the largesse.
It don't matter what the other 8 do until it gets to you or who's ever in that seat. And so what I did was I gave them McCarthy. They wanted McCarthy back. And so I agreed to do that. And I said, look, if he's got the votes before it gets to me, I'm not voting for him. But if it comes down to me, then I will vote for it. And so I gave them McCarthy, but I kept the water for the people.
Man, hold on a second, okay. Donna. I just want to say, Congressman Payne, I am so glad you are alive and told that story, my brother. Yeah. Right? So that we didn't hear it from somebody else, man.
Right. No, I appreciate that. And I'm starting to talk more about the things I do because I had a great lesson this election. People kept asking, well, what does he do? And the legislation I've passed that saves people's lives, the things I've done in Homeland Security, even back to the council like that. I mean, you know, I've been working. I'm my father's son. That's what I'll say.
There you go.
And because the thing is that when the mayor was on last month, he was talking about how important the water is, and and the fact that how where the water is supplied. And I think Jonathan made the issue made a statement where we could actually bottle our water because of how good it is. And then we talked about how we almost lost it, but nobody really understands how pivotal you were to that not happening, right? And I
Thank
think that's what's important, right? So as the mayor talks about how important it is and why we need to protect it, I think that everybody, and particularly young people, need to understand how close we came. But had not it been a Donald Payne Jr., we would have lost that. And yeah, a lot of people would have been filthy rich.
Yeah, and Congressman Payne doesn't, he said he doesn't talk a lot or about the round tables he has in his office with the people, so he will continue to know the pulse of the people. That's important. You got to stay in contact, and I never forget. Like you said, we got to get you a T-shirt. What would remember what would Jesus do? We got to get you. What would DP do? What would Donald Payne do?
Nah, I'm not in that league. I'm nowhere in that league.
But I remember, God rest his soul, but being his way when people said it, even when he got to Congress, he still did things locally like he was sitting in North, So that makes a difference. You got to know the pulse of the people, and that means that you're staying in contact, you're listening, you're in the community, you're taking those calls, and you know what the pulse of the people is, and that's
Yeah,
important.
I haven't done a good job as my father has, but I'm working on it. I'm trying to do better every day. So,
But just as important as doing what was done with replacing all of those lead service lines, I don't want people to forget how important that vote that you had and being in that presidency seat at that particular time. And as you just said, you understood and you understand more now how important it was to be the president of the city council at that very moment in our history.
hey, listen,
Right?
you think that MUA would have paid for everybody's service lines to get replaced in the city right now?
No, not at all.
That'd be a pipe dream, pardon the pun.
Yeah.
And you know what? And Congressman, I often talk about that a lot about how that manifested and with those lines being fixed, and not at each person's expense directly is through tax dollars and other funds, but that's big because being in the council and having somebody come tell you off because United Water found lead in their line and now they got a $10,000 bill. That's real,
Right.
So
Yep.
and now that's at your level. That took that plan and is at the federal level. It's just big. So
And I added writing in the infrastructure bill that created 144 billion dollars for it to be done across the country. But Newark is the example. That's why the vice president came here to acknowledge what we had done.
Right.
And Mayor Barack was on that boat. He was on the right side of that boat because he was one of the ones that made me be number 5. So he was on the right side of it, and it worked out. So and the thing about the lead line service thing I'd like to point out is that really shows how government is really supposed to work. It was a joint effort from the municipality all the way to the federal government.
Right.
Senator Booker Menendez and I helped them get money in. The state went to the legislature and changed the law. So, we got a lot of absentee landlords in Newark. So they created legislation that allowed, if there was a lead line identified on that property, that the city had the right to go in there and change it. and they passed that legislation. They passed that law in the state of New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Come the county, we would have not been able to get that money if the county executive had not lent Newark his bonding. Joe D has AAA rated bonding. He got the best bonding that you can have in the country. AAA. And he lent it to Newark. He lent it to Newark to bond that job. So everybody pitched in.
Right.
And now we're the example in the country.
Congressman
Payne, this is listen, Jonathan and I both got political science degrees. You teaching right now, brother. Right? This is some stuff. Hold on a second, Donna. I gotta tell the congressman this because he need to be clear. This is stuff that those of us who are political scientists got degrees in this stuff. Let me tell you something, man. When you leave Congress, when you done Congressman Payne, you gotta think about lecturing, man, and going and visiting these classes because what you're saying right now, right? Yeah. For people, they need to understand politics, right?
Right.
This and this is part of what I think. This is why, as tight as Councilman Kelly is with you, he need to sit with you and understand, the position he's in, because I think you can teach a lot right now to him, right?
Yeah, I'm very close with him, and I've been letting him kind of find his way a little bit, and then I'm going to step in when he gets to it, like after a month or 2 or 3, and then see where he is, what's going on. But he needs to, throw him out there in the deep end and let him, let him paddle, and then I come along, scoop him up, and straighten him out. So no, he's very appreciative of all the help that I've been to him, and I'm expecting big things from him. And he's got a ward, man, that needs a lot of help. Lord God, that West needs so much help.
Yeah, man.
So much help.
He got a big task, and I think the one guy who really got that kind of experience and sincerity to help him along the way and get it done and move is you.
Thank you. You know what I tell every council person that gets the job? I told Donna this too. Be careful what you ask for.
That's right.
I said to every last one of them when they're brand new.
Right.
After they get elected, I said now be careful what you ask for. You just might get it.
That's right.
And he got it, brother. He got it. He got it.
Congressman, there's a picture of Mayor Baraka and President Obama and you standing on the tarmac in Newark when President Obama came to Newark.
Yeah, and but his picture came out cooler though.
But that picture,
they're walking away. They're walking away together. I was like,
no,
they left me on the tarmac. They left
no,
me
the
there on the
picture.
tarmac.
No,
they all got in the beast and left me right there. I was like,
no, Reverend Slaughter has a picture of all three of y'all.
Oh,
Reverend Slaughter has a picture of all three of y'all. But
I know, but after that, they left me. I was like,
they
found me.
Yeah.
But that picture,
he told us about that ride too. He told us about that. He said, that was something, brother, to be in the beach.
That's amazing.
But
Valerie Jarrett had my seat, man.
Yeah. Let me just say, you just said with political science, but the picture is almost what you want in an elected, in your town.
Right.
You have a mayor who has a direct line to a congressman, who has a direct line to a president.
Right.
That right there is how work gets done.
Right.
And how it gets done in the most efficient way.
Very true.
People have to pay attention to that. You can't just hope and pray that people are going to think and do. You have to get out and vote and make sure people who are voting your interests are in that picture. When I see that picture, I was like, that's how work gets done.
It's interesting.
But the thing I say about, even our access, right, to be able to talk to the congressman. I mean, I don't even want to talk sometime when he's talking, especially now, because when he's given that, and because listen, Jonathan, to tell you this, when you in political science classes, they tell you to go to city council meetings, right?
Right.
They tell you to go and learn, what's going on. I mean, I've had to write papers on what goes on at the council meetings. But what you just got from the congressman is you got the behind the scenes, real deal, Holyfield, right? And that's some information a student wouldn't normally get. But imagine if the congressman, when he retires, said, you know what? I'm not going to sit at home, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to partner with Rutgers University, or I'm going to partner with Essex County College. And what I'm going to do is I'll come on a regular basis and I'll talk to your political science students and let them ask me questions. Do you know what kind of valuability that would be to a student? I can only imagine what kind of political science student I would have been. I can talk to the congressman now, but just imagine that.
Yeah,
that kind of information.
I really enjoy going to classrooms too. That's the one thing you can get me. I might him and haw about one or two things, but if you got kids and you say kids in school and come and camp and kids and after school and kids, you got me. I don't ever say no. So I think a couple people figured that out too, because they always got some kids. But Donna be bringing them to DC, and right, Donna, and I make time for them every time I can.
That's right.
That's what it's about, And thanks for that. And I like answering questions for kids. I'm not a great orator, so I always feel a little shortcoming about me talking. But once I get in a room with some kids and they open up and they get comfortable and asking me questions, I get on a roll. The teacher be like, okay, we have to stop now. I was like, I just got in a roll. But I enjoy that with young people.
Nah, man, I'm telling you, Congressman Payne, listen, man, I so appreciate. That's why I wanted you to elaborate on it, because when the mayor was here, he talked about it. You know what I mean? He was telling us how important it is. But I knew you was the guy. I knew you was the dude who saved that. You know what I'm saying? And I could only imagine just you and him talking about because he was talking about how important our water is. And he was saying, look, we came close to losing it. But I knew you was the guy who had the story. And that's why I said to you, Congressman, I'm glad you're alive.
Yeah.
Because you can tell the story yourself.
Yeah.
And everybody in the country now knows how important it is. Even the people down in Jackson know how important what you did. They don't know you the guy, but they trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I've been watching that issue from afar. Very, very, very painful to watch.
Yeah.
Very painful to watch. But you're right, Ed. I guess luckily I'm around to tell the story, because it looked like ain't nobody gonna finish the story but me.
That's you. You the guy. That's what I'm saying. and the way you tell it,
hey,
I go there with you.
Mayor. I'm gonna say like, hey, we came close to losing that water, huh?
Because I'm saying it's like theater. When you telling the story, because I know that room and I know all those players, I'm right there with you. I'm like, I know all them guys. I know every single one of them people that was on that council with you. I know that position you was talking about, going from 5 to 3. I know all of that. And we talk about people. We talking about people that we know, Congressman Payne, personally, right?
Right.
So when you telling that story, I know the position you was in. And when you say that I was waiting, but nobody ever came.
Right.
And you knew in your heart what you had to do.
Right.
You're like, I can't let them take this water. And then just the mere fact what you just said. Think about it. Who are you? I'm Donald Payne Sr.'s son. If I did something like that, imagine that.
I would have probably gone outside and my uncle would have been hiding behind my car and jumped me and drag me to the ground, punching me.
and at some point when we understood what you had done, we'd have found you. We said, he did what?
Right.
And we lost what?
Right.
But we thank God you were there, man.
Very proud of that.
Yep. I'm telling you, we need to share that story.
I guess I do have a few stories, Ed. Like the Biden thing with, I was in the room with Clyburn when he cut the deal with Biden.
All right, you got you.
There's another political science lesson, brother. You got to tell that.
Yeah.
See, and see, here's the thing, Congressman Payne, if you ever go and sit in those political science classes, them cats aren't really talking. The professors don't. They talking theory to us, man.
Right.
We reading stories, man. Right.
Right. Yeah. You need the practice. You need the practice.
Yes.
Yeah,
we
Mayor,
need the practicality of it, and we need to know the guys who did it. Right.
Yeah, the former mayor of New York is a visiting professor now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's a visiting professor.
He's got a great story to tell. He's got a great story to tell. I've watched him just start out as a cop and be the union president of the PBA, and then Black Police Officers Benevolent Association, and then win the city council seat. And that dude worked his way
No,
up.
not Eric, the former one.
Oh,
who's just?
I'm talking about Eric Adams.
No, but before Eric, the former.
You talking about
Eric has a great story. Yeah, Eric is here. Look, Eric got a character on Saturday Night Live already. Did y'all watch that? Because he must have did a speech about he bringing swag back to New York. Oh, Saturday Night Live was all over that.
I got to see that.
Oh, I'll send it to you, Congressman. So what else? Biden, how's Vice President doing? How's she? How's
to be honest, I haven't. She's been fairly quiet lately. I haven't had much interaction with her.
Okay.
I don't know if she's working on some particular, project or whatever, but she's been fairly quiet as of late.
And are you doing your business? What are you doing for the annual legislative conference?
I'm having my 8th annual entrepreneurial business. I always got to go back to small business and Black business and entrepreneurs. Even though I don't serve on any of those committees, it's important, and we're working on creating Black wealth. And so we continue through the series. And what I'll do is I'll send the information to you, and you can put it on your next show Friday.
Okay. Yeah. I met a young lady at Seton Hall who said she interned with you. I think this summer, right?
Yeah, we have a pretty aggressive intern program. I like to try to do that, and I'm really branching out now. So we're trying to have them all year round. Okay. And then in every office. So my office in Jersey City, office in Newark, office in Hillside, and my office in Washington. I'm trying to have young people working with us and engaged, and we give them work to do. They work on cases and follow up. So they just don't push a pen and put paper clips on paper. They work alongside my staff. So everybody says it's a great experience.
Yeah, they get that relative experience, and they get to be on a hill while still in school. So, like you said, Ed, so a person who's a political science major who gets to serve in his internship is getting relative experience.
Right.
Way ahead of them.
I'm trying to tell you, I just think that is it's what Black students don't get, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying because of who. Listen. And Jonathan, know when I say this, it's real, right? Listen, it's because of who these elected officials are, right? And where they come from, particularly a Donald Payne Jr., right? It's where they come from. And so for students in the class who may be, looking at political science as, it's out here somewhere,
right.
They can bring it right there, right? They can know, let me tell you what it really looks like, in the community, in the city of Newark, in the West Ward, in the South Ward, in the East Ward, in the North. Let me tell you what it really looks like. And then let me tell you what a vote on the council really means.
Right.
That's why they send students to the council meetings, right? Because they want you to understand what's going on locally, right? And this is why John always says when he talks about voting locally is important, and why we say all politics are local, right? I mean, not yes, because Tip O'Neill came up with that. I got that idea and said, yeah, it would be great. But now we really understand
it's true
why it's important. We get it. But imagine if you had a live congressman dude like Payne, and he speaks the language, right? And then he's retired. Now here's a guy that don't owe nobody nothing. I can tell you the real deal now, right? And give it all to you. And I'm saying, and we're grateful and we're blessed that All Politics Are Local that he does the Payne report here. But the fact that this brother is still alive, and the way he just told the story, I mean, it's giving me chills because I'm like, yo, I know what he did, and I know what he did because I know what the mayor said last month.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. And so anybody who knows, right, know that if you told that story, we would say, oh my God, this brother, thank God you were there.
Hey, John, let me ask you, do you take your students to the council meetings at all or anything, or the freeholder meetings?
No, that's legit. No, I've never taken my students to meetings. Part of the reason why, and it's conflicted, right? Because part of the reason why I don't do that is because I don't want to politicize like what I do with debate and make it seem like getting kids, because once I get them there, they're going to do what they want. So a lot of my students end up getting socially active. They end up doing like into activism and pissing people off, right? And people will assume that I'm behind it. So a lot of my students like get involved in activism movements. They like there were a couple of my students who took over Cami Anderson's office a few years ago, and I knew nothing about it until they actually did it. But people are like, "Oh, you're the debate coach. You got him to do it." I'm like, "No, I didn't. I just trained him to think, right? I trained him to think. I trained him to be critical. I teach them about like civics, right? They know about civics, but I try not to actively bring them out. I want them like they can do that on their own because often it's unpredictable, right? Like
John, don't fall back on your heels when you explain that. You be aggressive about it. So I didn't make them do that. I teach them to think. Be aggressive. Don't fall back like I'm
real aggressive.
You tell them. No, you tell people straight up. I taught them to think. Now what they do, that's on them. Right. I'm teaching them to think. Don't let them back you in a corner.
That's right.
No, you're right. Whenever I'm confronted with it, I'm real quite type aggressive. Like you know me, right? Like I've never been shy.
No, really.
At least not with the congressman.
And Congressman,
I'm like, he just waits for me for the Payne report. I'm gonna kick his behind there. Oh man, who's got Payne? Oh yeah.
That makes me think of Senator Rice. And Senator Rice used to say something that there's a time for politics and there's a time for work. After we raise our hand up, we're there to work. So what do people think? You're there, and Jonathan, you've taught them, and you're helping them see how what they're going to do in the real world, real world atmosphere would look like. So no, I think it's a good idea to bring young people to council meetings so they're not there as a reaction, that they know that they have to be a part of it. But I do want to say Senator Rice, I meant to say, is leaving, but he's retiring.
Do something.
And I just seen an article that Irvington councilwoman has got the blessings of that district. How many? He said, I know he's gonna say that. I'll tell you in a second. But have you had an opportunity to talk to him about his retirement?
Yeah.
Okay.
He actually called me a few weeks before he was going to do it and asked me not to say anything.
Okay.
We've gotten, it's amazing. We've gotten very close during my time in Congress. And, I'm kind of like a son. When he hangs out from me, he says, "Okay, son." And he always says that when he ends. I'm like, wow.
Burgess. Councilwoman Burgess got the nod.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. All right. Let's see. What was I going to say? Oh, John, plus just an offer. As your students exit out as seniors, tell them when they go to school that when they come back, that there are opportunities in my office to intern. All right. So as you graduate them out, that's something you can let them know. Now that you're in college, you know, Congressman Payne has internships in all 4 of his offices. So whichever is most convenient for them, you know, we can do that.
And actually, some of my debaters have interned and worked for you before.
Yes,
and they loved it. They speak so highly for you. They spoke highly of your father as well.
And Congressman, remember the young man you picked up that was Bashir's teacher, student. Remember that? The young brother.
I do.
Yeah. You know,
Absolutely.
see, this is what I'm, Jonathan. Look, man, y'all. I know y'all all get it, so I'm not gonna say y'all don't get it, but this is why, you know, it's important for brothers like Congressman Payne, you know, while he's still with us, right? To do, you know, to offer those internships for those students to be able to see him. Because for us, right, civics is not really real, right? We think it's out. You know, of course, what we do, Jonathan, I think is important, but still, a lot of people think what we say is out there, right? They think what Congressman Payne does is out there because they really don't understand what what he's sending back, how that's really benefiting their community and how they're benefiting for them. That's why I'm telling you, we're gonna have to work with Congressman Payne when he decides to retire and write a curriculum that he can go around and he could actually speak from and allow those kids to think about politics in a very real way. And if you want to get into politics, understand what that really is and understand what your vote really is. And it's important for you to understand why the congressman did some of the votes and made some of the decisions he made, because he was thinking about the larger picture.
Yeah, I think that, honestly, I think that doing this show over the last few years, and straight up, it's actually helped make me a better debate coach. Part of the reason why I do this is the connection with debate, and I learned stuff. The stuff that you were doing around water, the stuff you did around the infrastructure bill, even before it became a thing. Like when I remember back when we were in the studio and you were talking about riding the Amtrak and riding through the tunnel with the lights on, right? And actually seeing what was there, and what you had to do, right, in order to get other people to see it, right, and that whole process of community building, that whole process of getting something passed through Congress, and what the type of the organizational movement that was behind it. Man, I learned a lot. Like when you were like, I went up and I talked to Nancy Pelosi and told them about what we were doing in Newark on the infrastructure bill to get that included, and then we're reading evidence about the $32 billion or $36 billion that was given toward that program that mirrored what we did in Newark nationally, right? So this has been a really great learning experience too, in terms of you breaking a lot of that stuff down. And
Congressman Payne don't really know, Jonathan, how intently me and you listen to him. He don't really know that. You just told the story. You just ratted us out, by the way.
Just on a side note, the American Rescue Plan that I had a lot to do with, Newark received $486 million in that tranche of money. But I just was kind of interested. I said, well, Newark, 300,000 people got $486 million, which was a nice piece of change. That's almost the entire budget of the city of Newark. I was like, I wonder what New York got. So I had my staff research it today. In the American Rescue Plan, New York City received $12.7 billion. $12.7 billion. Amazing. I was like, oh, they got 1 or 2 billion.
Well, I think one of the most important things is that you come in here faithfully and letting the community know at a very local level what you're doing for them. And you don't consider it robbery to do so on a Friday evening. I've heard people tell me, man, on a Friday, that's not a good day, but I thank God, one of the first things I was able to do when I came to that first LLC was sit and just watch your father in the background work. And he, oh my goodness, the work he puts into what he did, it's just, he was a worker. And it taught us everything we needed to know. This is about the people and not about, me or you. It's about the people.
Absolutely.
Now you say you know what you said, John, Donna, is important, but the congressman, I remind him all the time. He was part of creating this show too. You know what I mean? When he was still he had just won the seat. He was a councilman.
Right.
He had just won, and so he helped created this too. So he came up with the name, didn't remember he did it. You know what I mean? Hey, Congressman Payne, I shouldn't have told you. I would have put a trademark on it and kept it for myself.
I know, right?
That I own the Payne report. But he came up with the slick name. You know what I mean? I was like, yo, that's nice.
Yeah, that's it.
And so, but that is important, right? Because I think that at the end of the day, we all are learning, from what this brother is talking. And then remember, as he was going through the learning curve in Congress, he shared it with us.
Right.
I mean, this is what we got to understand. He was going through that learning curve, and he shared all of that on every Friday he came through. And we was in the studio. Remember, he was hopping off the train and coming right up the street.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Think about that.
Absolutely.
And you got and even when the congressman didn't make it, he called. He like, yo, I'm calling. Let's do it.
But for that one Friday, he let me sit in for him, and I never left.
Hey, Congressman Payne, Donna was your fill-in.
Yeah.
He had you fill in. He said, call Donna.
So, Congressman, when you see you in October, you will have been at you're leaving the house now, going down to 24 hours apiece. Anything you need to tell us when you come back in October? Will gas be at 99 cents a gallon?
I doubt it will be 99 cents, but it's going in the right direction. So
okay, we'll never see 99 cents again.
I doubt that.
Okay.
Well, listen, y'all, we out of time with the congressman. I know, and this has been real exciting for me tonight. Because it's been a lesson, and I'm so glad to have him tell that story. And I'm glad we got it on tape, right? Because I can go back and edit it now.
Wait,
Dave, you got strep throat, man. What's up?
Hey, Zach, you right?
I forgot the one thing. Shout out to Eric Payne. I'm looking at what you call the other night, the Power, and I was like, yo,
I watched it.
Eric is on the Power show.
I saw it last night.
Tell us about that.
Last night.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ed. I meant to talk about that.
Tell Eric we said what's up, man. That's my man.
He did a good job.
Talk to us about that. He playing a good role.
Yeah, he did good last night.
Yeah.
All right, I'll definitely tell him. He'll be happy about that.
Yeah, tell him to come on. We haven't had him on since we've been in the studio, so he got to come on.
Yeah,
come on, talk to us about that.
He'll really appreciate that.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So thank all our guests. Thanks. Enjoy yourself tonight.
Yes, and be safe and careful. And thanks. And I'm glad we got a chance to talk about especially with what's going on in Jackson. I'm glad we were able to get an education about that too, because those are one of those issues that is important in Jackson right now, but it's important. It was important in Newark before. It's going to be important. It's important to Black people all over this country.
True. So true.
Dooley said great job. So
it's really a situation that we need to keep our eyes on, because if you notice, it's primarily in our communities. And
that's right.
That's going to continue. That's there's a pattern forming here.
Look, I'm saying something. Karen Hunter said it's in Black people. Okay, said that it's in the Black communities. All right, enjoy yourself, sir.
Hey, take care.
All right.
God bless. Be safe. Be
safe.
Right.
Let's say with y'all. Good show.
Great show. It looks like we just